Alright, as I'm booting up everything, opening a pack of Pokemon cards, no video footage because I can't be bothered. I got a Alolan Meowth, a Ferroseed, a Meditite, a Repel, and a Luxray. I'm only missing 2 cards in Extra Dimensional Crisis. I'm missing... oh, what am I missing? I know one of them is Guzzlord. I'm missing the Guzzlord EX, which is crazy because I have the full art, which is much rarer. I have 2 of the full arts, but the normal Guzzlord EX I cannot get. And then I'm missing like one other thing. I can't remember if it's Tapu Koko or something else. I have no idea, but I'm missing like one other thing. Oh, and I got a Poipole from a Wonder Pick. Alright, there we go. Alright, so tonight, we're finishing Super Mario Sunshine. We looked it up last time. We need to get to the 7th star in every level. We've got 50 stars, which is enough. We just need to get to the 7th star in every level. So we're going to work towards that. I think we've done it already in like 2 or 3 of the areas. I know for sure we've done it in Noki Bay. I know Noki Bay is good. I think the starting area, Pianta Hills, is good. It's just every other area we need to do. Oh, Rico Harbor is good. Okay. I mean, this level pissed me off last time, but I want to try it one more time. This level pissed me off, but I want to do it. If we'll take like 1 or 2 tries, and if we fail, we'll try again. Oh, I'm missing Looker. That's the other card I'm missing from Extra Dimensional Crisis, is Looker. Which is just a common card. I mean, it's a trainer card, so I guess it's, what, 1 above common, but still. I also do not have the what's it called? The animation Buzzwole. Oh shit, here it is. Guzzlord EX, Extra Dimensional Crisis. It's a Wonder Pick. Oh shit. I've got a 1 in 5. It started in the bottom corner. The bottom right corner. Heart of the cards. I'm gonna do bottom left. Shit, it was top middle. God, and I just got a stupid Carvana. I cannot get that Guzzlord EX. That could have been it. That could have been... Because then I see the Buzzwole, or the Looker, and we could have tried to get that. I can't believe we're just missing a single card. Okay, I'm gonna go for the Looker. While we're trying to get these fruits. So, the show tonight, we have one big story. Xbox Game Pass. Xbox did their big game showcase. Oh, I got the Looker. Ooh, shit. So, I'm only missing a single card in Extra Dimensional Crisis. I'm only missing a single card in Mythical Island. And I'm only missing a single card in Shining Revelry. And no matter what I do, I cannot get those single cards. I'm also missing the animated card, which is Buzzwole, and I just cannot get that one for some reason. It's the only... It and Dialga are the only animated cards I'm missing. Other than that, I have everything else. That's actually kind of wild that I'm only missing like 2 cards. Or I'm missing 1 card from each of these sets. Yeah, fuck this level. I wanted to do it because I was annoyed we couldn't do it last time. Okay, so we're talking about the Xbox Showcase. We'll go over, you know, all my things from that. And then after that, we got a Splatoon update. We got both the main game is getting an update, but also a new Splatoon game. So I want to talk about that. And then the Nintendo Switch is a week old now. The Nintendo Switch 2. So I do want to give my sort of thoughts. Right? We now know the sales numbers for the first few days. I want to talk about that, kind of what's going on there. Even though we're currently not playing on the Switch 2, because, you know, I want to beat Sunshine. And then for WIBE, I've got a bunch of stuff. I've been playing more Mario Kart. I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom on Switch 2. We got Phineas and Ferb, the episodes 1 through 10. I have watched all of them on Disney Plus currently. We got 2 Rick and Morty episodes, even though I cannot remember one of them. Because I forgot to talk about it last week. At least I think I did. So we got at least one. So I know we've got episode 3, which I remember what happened there. And then episode 2 was Space Beth. Okay. I saw How to Train Your Dragon. We'll talk about that. I watched Superman 1987. The original Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner Superman. And why we'll talk about it. Obviously, the new Superman had something to do with it. We'll mention it. And then I've got Dungeon Crawler Carl. I finished the Butchers Masquerade. If we have time, we'll talk about that. Same thing with Dimension 20. I did listen to the first episode of the new season, Cloudward Ho, because I didn't want to immediately jump into the next Dungeon Crawler Carl. I kind of was like, let me take a break real quick. Let me listen to something else. And so I listened to the first episode of Cloudward Ho. If we have time, we'll talk about it. If we don't, I'm not too miffed over it. And then we're doing Sunshine right now. I fully expect we'll beat Sunshine in like an hour. Hopefully we'll beat Sunshine in the next hour. And when we do, we'll switch over to the Mario Kart World. Alright, so our first news story... our news stories, right? Xbox Games Showcase. That's our big one. That's our important one. But we got new Splatoon stuff, because, again, this is still primarily Nintendo. I broke up there is one news thing, but I broke it up into 2 stories. I have been playing some Splatoon. There's actually a big run going on today, which I did play a little bit of, and that was fun. We'll talk about it, because I did get a chance to use Game Chat. So we'll talk about it, and we'll probably talk about it then. And then I do want to talk about Switch 2 sales. Because we got the sales numbers and misinformation. I mentioned a few weeks ago that it was going to be nice once the Switch 2 had come out, we were playing it, and then someone at Summer Games Fest said something stupid, and, we were done, right? People would stop talking about the Switch 2 drama, and they'd move on to the next thing. That is still going to happen. 100% people are going to move on to the next thing. But what I thought would be causing the drama, which is something stupid that happened at Xbox, instead people are so mad at the Switch 2 that they've actually started supporting Xbox and are acting like Xbox is going to be the Nintendo Switch killer, which is fucking stupid. But we'll talk about it in a minute. Because, spoiler alert, that's never going to happen. That's never going to fucking happen. If you think the Switch 2 is... Or if you think Xbox is going to have the Switch 2 killer, you're a fucking fool. A fool. A loser. Maybe that's a... I don't know, what's harsher? Calling someone a fool or calling them a loser? You're a Tesla Cybertruck driver. You're that level of loser. Okay, let's talk about Xbox, shall we? So, Xbox did their game showcase. It was the big event of the season. And so far, the Summer Games Fest season hasn't been great. The main Summer Games Show Fest was okay. It had like 1 or 2 things I'm interested in. But overall, yeah, I do kind of agree. It was kind of disappointing. I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. I didn't think it was too bad. I really only got bored the last like 30 minutes, which, to be fair, by Summer Games Fest standards, that's actually not terrible. There have been some Summer Games Fest where you're like 30 minutes in and you're like, God, we still have another 2 hours of this. Making it a full hour 30, that's not that bad. And then the PlayStation show was worse. PlayStation just didn't really have much to show. Like, again, the console wars have started up again. Maybe not from the companies, but definitely the people. And it's kind of crazy that in 1 year's time, the Switch 2 is going to have more exclusives than the PS5 will have had in 5 years. That's just kind of the trajectory of PlayStation, because, you know, they only want to do these big games, and these big games take so much time to make, that, yeah, PlayStation doesn't really have much to show. Not that TotK Fighters wasn't interesting, we talked about that last week. It's just, PlayStation doesn't have that much. So, what about Xbox? I overall think Xbox did a decent job. I think they had some good things. They had some shit I didn't care about. You know, it was, it's the year of Obsidian. And yeah, I completely agree with that statement. It is the year of Obsidian. And Obsidian has some genuinely interesting stuff. Like, there is some stuff from Obsidian where I'm like, oh, I'm interested in this. So I guess that's where we'll start. The Outer Worlds 2 got revealed. Or got its big debut. You know, we knew about it. But, you know, it's got its big debut. They started off the show talking about it. And then they ended the show with a big dive into The Outer Worlds 2 and into Grounded. Which we'll talk about next. And I'll be honest, I really like what we've seen. They've taken what worked about The Outer Worlds 1. They've seemingly expanded it. You know, it's still about the evils of capitalism, even if it's a different corporation. You know, choices you make still matter. They're leaning more into the fact that, hey, if you build your character in a certain way, that will, you know, have more effect. You know, certain speech checks and tech checks and whatnot matter more in this game than they did in the previous one. Not to say that they didn't matter in the previous one, but, you know, they're now going to matter more, which is nice. People really like that in role-playing games, which is, you know, why people like New Vegas, because Fallout 4 almost never does that. But that's not really a Bethesda thing. Even though they claim it is. We saw some of the perks, and, like, you have characters, you know, which have their perks and their systems and whatnot. But they also talk about character flaws, where characters will have certain flaws, and they showed off a few of them. And, like, one of them was, like, kleptomaniac. If you're a kleptomaniac, you know, maybe you're looking through stuff, and you're looking through, like, items that are marked with, like, red, that, like, hey, if you steal this item, you'll get in trouble. And it highlights that, and if you're a kleptomaniac, it'll just randomly steal one of those items, beyond your control. There's one that's, like, squeaky knees, where, you know, your knees, you're better at stealthing, but when you leave crouching, your knees pop, and everybody nearby hears it. There's one that's like sun blindness, where when you stare into the sun, it like leaves like a, you know, like actual like sun damages your eyes. And it can make the game basically unplayable if you do it too much. Which is one of those things where it's like, that's such a bad idea. You know, to put in a thing that the developers themselves admit makes the game unplayable. But that's what I love about it. You know, doing something like that is just, it's fun. It's role-playing. I know 90% of role-playing is done in a player's head. But just doing weird shit like that sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know if they said explicitly that it's on a timer. That like, hey, you're on a timer. You know, or if you see the sun too much, you know, the timer goes up. I don't know how explicitly they said that, but I miss Mitten Squad. Because that would be like the perfect Mitten Squad playthrough of can you beat the game before you go completely blind from sun blindness. Or just some shit like that. That sounds so funny. But one day, I want to do a tribute stream to him. Where we do our own, like, challenge run in some game, you know, Fallout 4, New Vegas. You know, we gotta find something he didn't do. Because I've always wanted to do a run like one of his. One day I will do that. Because, he was great. But so everything from The Outer Worlds 2 looks great. It got an October release date. There's, however, one asterisk. One problem. The hot topic of the video game industry right now. So Nintendo made Mario Kart World $80. And it was the question of, well, now that the Switch has sold so well, are other companies just going to copy that and make their games $80? Even though we just got a price increase from 60 to 70 a few years ago. You know, PlayStation rose the price of all their games. Are other companies going to follow suit? And then Trump announced his tariffs, and as a result of Trump's tariffs, even though he did taco, he did chicken out, because Trump always chickens out, which tomorrow is No King's Day, and Trump, because it's also, I think, Trump's birthday, but fuck him. And he's doing this big thing about, like, oh, if you protest, we're going to send it, you know, he's already sent in the National Guard to LA and whatnot. Because he doesn't want people protesting on his birthday. But here's the thing. Oh, no matter how big Trump talks, taco. Trump always chickens out. I don't care what he says he's going to do. Because guess what? He's always going to chicken out. Trump claims he's going to send in the National Guard to every city, you know, to 2,000 cities in America. No, he's not. He's going to chicken out. Because Trump always chickens out. No shit. That's just how it works. That's just how it works for him. Where were we going on that? Oh yeah, because of Trump's tariffs, Xbox increased all their prices. Even though Trump did chicken out, Xbox isn't undoing those price increases. Not yet, anyways. We'll see. We'll see if they ever do, or if this becomes like a baggage fee on airlines thing, where when the price goes up, you know, it's to help save the airlines. And then the baggage fee just never went away. We'll see if anything happens. But Xbox said that, hey, they're going to also increase the price of games later this year. And now here we are, in The Outer Worlds 2 is $80. If it wasn't for the Switch 2, in Trump's tariffs, this game probably would have been $70. Now, I know a lot of people are blaming Nintendo. I think that's disingenuous at best. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I don't think Nintendo takes zero responsibility. But I put way more blame on the president. I think this is way more of the president's doing than anybody else. But it also just shows you, hey, guess what? This is Microsoft being a greedy company. Sure, Nintendo's a greedy company, we can all admit that. But the fact that Microsoft is doing this also means Microsoft is a greedy company as well. But guess what? Has anybody talked about that in the past few days? No, they're just blaming Nintendo for Microsoft, the multi-trillion-dollar company. Yeah, Nintendo is the problem that's causing Microsoft's greed. Yeah, it's Nintendo's fault Microsoft is being greedy. And there was one other thing I wanted to say. It's Nintendo's fault Microsoft is being greedy. But yeah, the Xbox, this past week, the Xbox defenders have come out in full force. We'll get to it at the end of this Xbox segment. But literally everything people have been complaining about with the Switch 2 the past few weeks, everyone's giving Xbox a free pass. Or at least Xbox fanboys are. And they're just the most annoying cunts, man. It's not that they like Xbox. I have no problem with them liking Xbox or being excited for the new Xbox games. I'm excited for The Outer Worlds 2. I'm excited for Grounded, which we'll talk about next. What kills me is the hypocrisy. You say in one sentence Nintendo is bad for X reason, And then in the next sentence, you say Xbox is good despite them doing the exact same thing. That's what kills me, the hypocrisy. I don't give a shit that you hate Nintendo. But if you're gonna hate Nintendo for something Xbox also does, that's some funky bull shrimp. Okay, so Outer Worlds 2 looks great. Genuinely, I like the first one. The second one looks good. Am I excited for it? Excited enough. Will I actually play it at launch? Probably not. But, you know, I might check it out someday. Because, to be fair, I didn't play the original Outer Worlds at launch either. I waited, because I didn't have an Xbox at the time, admittedly. But I waited a little bit, and when I eventually got around to it, yeah, I enjoyed it. Even though I don't think I ever actually beat it. But you know me, Mr. Can't finish a single RPG. Mr. started Miitopia last week, and it's not even on the schedule this week, because I haven't touched it. So next up, they showed off Grounded 2. A sequel to Grounded. This came out of nowheres. I was not expecting this. I did like the first Grounded. From what I bought the first Grounded a few years ago to play with some mates. We checked it out back in game preview or alpha, beta, whatever you call it. And yeah, it was kind of fun, you know. It's a survival crafting game. It's got RPG elements. Overall, it's a pretty solid game, that Grounded. I enjoyed playing it in alpha. But it was kind of one of those things where it's like, once we stopped playing it in alpha and beta and moved on to the next thing, we never actually went back and finished it. Like, once it fully released, I've never gone back to it. But after seeing them show off Grounded 2 in this showcase, I was like, I own it on Xbox. I own an Xbox now. Maybe I should just go play it again. So that's exactly what I did. I went onto my Xbox and was like, I still own this game, right? Sure enough, I do. So I downloaded it. That does not mean I played it. I literally did that earlier today. I downloaded it. But I'm thinking about giving Grounded another shot. You know, going back into it. I'm not going to be playing it with anybody. It's just going to be me, myself, and I. But hopefully it's fun. Hopefully the single-player experience is still pretty good. I don't know. It's been a while, and I think that could be fun. But seeing Grounded 2, they're in a park this time, so there's going to be new areas to explore. I remember in the original Grounded, there was like... I know there was a desert area that was like, you know, that had like, you could like get like sunburned and like scorching effects or whatever. And I know there was also like a tipped over grill that became like, that was kind of like a fire volcano zone. So this new game is adding like a tipped over ice cream truck or like an ice cream truck that spilled its remnants, or you can go in the freezer or whatever. And that's like a snow area. That sounds like a lot of fun. I like that idea. I like the idea of being able to go into, like, a snow area. I think that's a good... Adding new biomes is nice. The new park location, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's the same characters, but, 2 years later now? And, you know, you're just trying to solve the mystery of what happened. And because, you know, the park, like, an explosion went off that, like, shrunk you? Probably Schmechter. His name was Schmechter, right? So it's something like that, Director Schmechter. You're probably, you know, he's probably behind it. Because, I don't know. I don't think he dies. From what I've heard about the original, I don't think he dies at the end of it. I don't know. It's, again, I'm going to be replaying it. Maybe. Hopefully. But I like that idea. I like, you know, the park. I guess they've already said that when the game comes out in game preview, the map in game preview is going to be the same size as the map of the first game. So that's going to be huge. Just to start off. Again, they're going to update things. The map will presumably double, maybe even triple in size. I think that's a good idea. Some of the new things they've done, they've added a rideable animals. Because, right, in the first game, you could, like, tame things to, like, get pets or whatever. there was something to do with like being able to get pets. So I think the idea of now being able to ride like ants and spiders, that is very promising. So yeah, overall, I think everything we've seen from Grounded 2, like, I know there's some other things they showed off. It's a 20, because there was a 20-minute Outer Worlds presentation and a 20-minute Grounded presentation. And yeah, everything we see so far, the game is not developed solely by Obsidian, but in collaboration with Eidos Montreal. Okay. So yeah, everything from Grounded 2 looks good. I'm interested in that. I think there's some fun ideas there. Hopefully I'm going to go back, play the first game, have a lot of fun with the first game, and then maybe once it's out of game preview, I'll pick up the second one. Because that's, you know, I know people like games in beta. I know playing a game early can be a lot of fun, and I know some games, like Grounded, like Hades, use player feedback to make the game better, and it overall does make the game better, probably. Right, like, it seemingly does. I definitely know with Hades it did. But can I be honest, I'm kind of, like, back in the day, I used to be excited to play a game, like, oh yeah, this is early access, this is so exciting. Nowadays, I'd rather just wait for a finished game. Because that's Hades. Hades 2. Like, yeah, I'm excited, but I'm gonna wait for the full release. It should be later this year, and then Grounded will probably be in, you know, game preview for a year or two, so that'll be a while. But yeah, whenever it's done, assuming I really liked playing the first one again, I'm sure I'll have a good time with that. So those were the two big things that ended off. That were, you know, those were like the final two big presentations. But there was a bunch of other stuff in the show. The show ended with the reveal of Black Ops 7. Can I be honest? I don't give a shit. I know the big tease for Black Ops 7 is that they're going back to Black Ops 2. It's the main protagonist and the main villain, Menendez, of Black Ops 2 are going to be the main character and the main antagonist. Did I say antagonist? I meant did I say protagonist? I meant antagonist. Whatever, those two are coming back for Black Ops 7, so presumably they're going to try to make a big deal about that, but I just don't care. When I started watching this trailer, I was like, oh, is this some sort of, like, Control 2 or something like that? Like, is this going to be some sort of big thing? And then it's just fucking Black Ops 2. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. But whatever, that's what they're doing. We got Ninja Gaiden 4. Again, for people who are excited for that, good for you. I'm not a big Ninja Gaiden fan. I didn't really care for the game, so, yeah. But I know people did like them. Oh god, I remember this level sucks. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 comes out in a few weeks, but they did announce that, hey, guess what? There's going to be a sewer level, and they've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can I be honest? That's a prediction I made that I am so glad I got correct. I usually, like, I think the reason why I'm so... Because that's, out of all the clips from the Xbox and the Summer Games Fest, that is the only one I actually made a highlight of. Because I feel like that's a prediction I 100% nailed. Like, I predicted, like, oh, I said Clockwork Revolution was going to be here. I made certain predictions for this Xbox showcase. This wasn't the only thing I got correct. I definitely got some stuff wrong. And right, I got some Summer Games Fest stuff wrong as well. Including from there. But getting this prediction 100% correct is exciting. There was also something else. So when I posted that highlight, part of my highlight was me saying that, like, oh, I'm worried about this new one because of X, Y, or Z reason. Oh, because I'm worried about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 because they removed the mission mode. And someone told me that, hey, I guess there's gameplay floating around. That, right, while it is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 without the mission mode stuff, they've actually added a lot of stuff back to like the career mode and whatnot that are good changes. So some of my worries about, you know, the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 are a little dissuaded, if I'm reading that comment correctly, which I might not be, which would suck. But I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. It honestly might be one of those things that I don't pick up at launch, and I just kind of gotta wait. Kind of like the original. I didn't pick up the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 plus 2 at launch. I got it for like $20 like a year or two later. And I enjoyed it okay. But yeah, I'm glad I got that prediction right. I think the Ninja Turtles make perfect sense. Is SpongeBob going to be playable? I doubt it. But, you know, it's cool that it's here. I think the Ninja Turtles just make perfect sense. It's a good get. Good on you, Tony Hawk. Gears of War Reloaded. I've never played a Gears of War game. At least, I don't think I have. Yeah, I liked Halo. I was a Halo guy. I didn't really... You know, I played ODST and Reach instead of Gears of War. That Shine was super easy. I remember that being way harder. So yeah, Gears of War is not a game I really played, but there is a part of me that's like, oh, well, if they're remaking the first one, maybe I'll give it a chance. You know, maybe it'll go better this time. Or, you know, maybe I'll like it this time. You know, maybe I'll give it a chance and maybe I'll enjoy it. Because last time I just completely skipped over it. Indiana Jones has its DLC, The Order of Giants, and it comes out in September, so that got a release date. I do need to play Indiana Jones. Not because I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. Indiana Jones is one of those series that's more misses than hits. You know, kind of like Star Wars. But I like the ideas. I trust Machine Head Games. I do want to play Indiana Jones at some point. I should pick it up on Xbox. You know, because I'm going to be booting up my Xbox again for the first time in a long time. Maybe I should give it a shot there, but we'll see. But no, DLC is cool. Clockwork Revolution got a new showcase. Very much reminds me of like a BioShock or a Fallout. You know, they're definitely taking influence from that. You know, we get to see some of the characters, you know, greedy rob-de-barons, the evils of capitalism. There's time travel, you know, that's gonna completely destroy the world or something. You know, we get to see some fun characters. It kind of reminds me of like what's the area in BioShock Infinite where it's the corporation? Not Fontaine, not Frank Fontaine. I don't remember the guy's name, but there's a whole like corporate where you know the guy who makes the handymans and the skyhooks. You go through like his thing, and that's where the Vox Populi revolution kicks off. He dies. The one girl kills him. It kind of reminds me of like take that area and make a whole game out of it. Probably just because, you know, steampunk aesthetic. But it looks fun. I like some of the mechanics, you know. Again, BioShock, I'm a big Fallout 4 fan. Not that Fallout 4 is a perfect game by any means, but I personally enjoy what it's got going. And I really do like BioShock. And Judas, again, I don't get every prediction right. I was expecting Judas to show up at least one of these showcases, and it was nowheres to be found. Which that really surprised me. But everything we see at Clockwork Revolution looks decent. Release date, just in due time. So they're not even going to say 2026. So it could be 27. We have no idea. You know, it'll happen when it happens. Next up, High on Life 2. This is Squanch Games, which was Justin Roiland's developer. But there's no way Justin Roiland is working on this one. Unless, of course, he is potentially working on this one. I don't know. They don't say anything, and I kind of doubt they are going to say anything. So that's a little bit concerning. I don't know, the first High on Life was okay. Again, I think a game I played on Game Pass. And I think it was, you know, it was decent enough for a Game Pass game. But I don't think I'm going to play the second one. The Blood of the Dawnwalker, this was, what, the vampire one? I think this was like a vampire one. Or something. I don't really remember. I just, you know, I have it written down here. Yeah, it must have been like vampire or something. Dawnwalker's a vampire thing. It's not Blade. It's not Blade. Give me a second. Next up, Keeper. This is Double Fine's new game. And much to my surprise, it's coming out in like September or October this year. I actually forgot to write down the date it's coming out. But it's coming out this year. And the basic premise is you're like a lighthouse on spider legs. And, you know, you're going through this world. I don't know. It's Double Fine. It's gonna be weird. But man, have I enjoyed some Double Fine games over the years. Have I played anything? Because admittedly, I didn't play Psychonauts 2. Played the original. The original was great. I don't think I ever played the second one, though. I meant to, and then I just never got around to it. But I trust Double Fine. You know, Double Fine, they didn't fuck up Psychonauts 2, even if I didn't play it. Really should. But no, Keeper is great. I was not expecting it to release this year. When they teased a new Double Fine game, I'm like, oh, that's next year, minimum. Nope. I mean, to be fair, Psychonauts 2 was a while ago. Resonance, a Plague Tale story? So this is like a Plague Tale spin-off. But I was not expecting that. Yeah, if you had asked me a new Plague Tale, beats me, but hey, they're doing it. Fate's End. This is the game made by the people who did Spiritfarer. Spiritfarer, if you've never played it, it's a game where you're like in the afterlife, or you're helping guide people on your boat to the afterlife. It is very good. Oh my god, it made me cry my eyes out. It can be, because it is so emotional, because you know, it deals with death. It can be very hard to play, but it is very good. And so I am excited for whatever the developer is doing next. So that's fantastic to hear about. Age of Mythology, this is, you know, I don't know, it reminds me of Civilization. And it comes out, it's getting a DLC. They're doing Japanese or Chinese mythology. They're leaning into Asian mythologies. And yeah, that DLC is coming out eventually. Persona 4 Revival. I know there was all these voice actors saying we're not going to be in the new Persona. Seemingly, they leaked it. And I don't think it's... Because when I first saw the voice actors being like, oh, we're not going to be in the Persona Revival. When I think it was Yuri Lowenthal who said it first. When he said it, I was like, okay, this is weird to, like, say that you're not going to be in it. And then the next day, another voice actor came and said they weren't going to be in it. But specifically, the voice actor of, like, the next character you meet in the game. It was, like, really weird, and it was like, oh, okay, this is, like, a marketing stunt. But since Persona 4 Revival has been announced, I don't think we've actually got confirmation about whether or not they're going to be in the game. So I have no idea on that front. But yeah, it's kind of weird how this happened. But yeah, okay, I know people love Persona 4. I know a lot of people love Persona 5. There are also many who think Persona 4 is the best one. So, hey, that's cool. One day I'm going to play Persona 4, but not anytime soon. Moodang? Isn't that the baby hippo? Give me more Moodang. I said I want Moodang. Now, I think Moodang... This was a Chinese? Indonesian developer? I cannot remember. But it's a Souls-like. It's a Souls-like game. Okay, we have... Summer Games Fest has been very long, and we have gotten a lot of Souls-like games. That's just kind of the it genre at the moment. We got an Invincible game, but it's a fighting game. Now, I guess the game is being developed by the people who did Killer Instinct on the Xbox One, which I know people really liked the Xbox One's Killer Instinct. So that is a good announcement on that front, I guess. For people who like that, that's good. But can I be honest? I don't care. I guess part of it is that I'm just so battered and beaten by Injustice, where it's like, that's the Marvel game, that's the Marvel fighting game, that I'm just like, no, please do something different. But, because I've seen some, pushback against this. I've seen pushback to the pushback. What's the word I'm looking for? Not pushback. I've seen criticism to the criticism. Whatever the word I'm looking for is. And can I be honest, the big reason why I'm not excited for this is because I just want a fucking Superman game. I just want an Arkham City style Superman game. Where you're flying around the city as Superman, you're fighting Metallo, Lex Luthor, Silver Banshee, Livewire, not the Outbreakers, what are they called? What's the criminal? Not the Outsiders, whatever that criminal organization is, the Outrider, I cannot remember the name. Just Parasite, there's another Superman villain. Just give me a good Superman game. I want a Superman game like Arkham City. Oh, but Superman's OP. Only if you make him OP. Listen, I know our perceptions of Superman are heavily based in the 1978 Richard Donner Superman, where he's able to fly back in time and memory erase people with a kiss and all that overpowered bullshit. That's not all Superman is. And I really hope James Gunn's Superman does a lot of heavy lifting to change people's perception of Superman. God, I hope that movie is good. I really do. Not that I'm saying Reeves' movie is bad. We'll talk about it. But I'm ready for a Superman game. And that's, like, if you tell me, oh, you're making an Invincible game, make it let me explore a city. Let me level a city. Make it like a Godzilla game, but you're, like, the size of a person. Just blowing through buildings and whatnot. I don't know. There are ways to make it work. But no, instead we're just going to get more superhero fighting games. And I know when Marvel tried it, they fucked it up. I know the most recent Rocksteady game, Suicide Squad wasn't that good. But I know it could work. I know someone like Greg Miller could figure it out and make it work. But no, instead we just keep getting fucking fighting games. Whatever. Beast of Reincarnation. Oh, fuck. I'm a Chuckster. I recognize the level immediately. Fuck. I'm a Chuckster. Do it. Say the line. Do the roar. I'm a Chuckster. Fuck. because we've been able to avoid a lot of the other bad levels. We avoided the balloon roller coaster one. We avoided the watermelon one. But God, we gotta do this one. This one sucks. Fuck. Where was I with that? Oh yeah, Beast of Reincarnation. So this is a game made by Game Freak, the developers of Pokemon. Because Game Freak is not owned by Nintendo. I think Creatures Inc. is co-owned by Nintendo and Game Freak, or maybe it's the Pokemon Company is co-owned by Nintendo and Game Freak and Creatures Inc. I don't know, there's some sort, like Pokemon is co-owned by Nintendo, but Game Freak is their own studio that makes their own games. Normally, they have made some really good games. There's like a Driller game. It might be called Mr. Driller. That's pretty decent. Tembo the Badass Elephant was okay. Harmo Knights, which was a 3DS game, was pretty okay. Pocket Card Jockey, which was originally a 3DS game, before being ported to iOS, and then back to, I think, Switch. I think it's on Switch now. Pocket Card Jockey is fantastic. If you've played a shitload of Balatro and want something a little different but still involves playing cards, give that one a go. Again, I know it's on iOS for sure, and then I think it's on Switch as well. But, you know, all those games I just named are kind of cartoony, right? They're not very serious. They're all kind of cartoony. So this is Game Freak, excuse me. This is Game Freak's, like, first, like, non-cartoony, kind of serious. Like, they're clearly taking some influence from, like, Souls games here. And yeah, overall, it looks fine. It's weird that it's at an Xbox show, but hey, you know what? Whatever. I've seen, though, I will say, in the days since this was revealed, I've seen people say that, hey, this is proof that Nintendo is holding Game Freak back. That Game Freak is actually a good developer, and if it wasn't for Nintendo, they would be making better games. That, like, oh, if it wasn't for Nintendo, Pokemon would be good. That's kind of like, that's a narrative I've been seeing be pushed a lot recently. I don't believe that. I don't. Game Freak has made some bad games. The most recent non-Pokemon one they did, made by, it had music from Toby Fox. I admittedly do not remember the game's name for the life of me. Let me look it up real quick. Game Freak. It was called, what was it called? Little Town Hero. It was called Little Town Hero. It's a game that was released on Switch, PlayStation, Windows, and Xbox. And it was fucking dog shit. Sure, it had music by Toby Fox, which sounds great, but the game was not good. So Game Freak itself doesn't have a perfect track record. Oh, I should look up Pocket while I'm there. Pocket Card Jockey is on iOS, macOS, and Nintendo Switch. I'm actually surprised that didn't come other places. I think that would be a good, you know, I could see that game having been on Steam. That's weird. Whatever. So Game Freak does have, they're not a perfect, like most developers, they have their fuck-ups. But I don't think Nintendo is holding Pokemon Company back. I think it's just, you know, the Pokemon Company realizes they don't have to make great games in order for them to sell 30 million copies. Because Pokemon games sell 20 to 30 million copies. Yeah, sure, has the Switch 2 helped out the performance of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Yes. Should it have maybe worked better from launch? And does the texture still look like garbage? Yes and yes. Do I still thoroughly enjoy that game? Also yes. It's a complicated beast of Baron. But yeah, it's, you know, Game Freak's doing something else. hey, people are interested in it. We'll see if that interest stays, and we'll see if it's good. But hey, they're doing it anyways. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is coming to Xbox this winter. It's also coming to Switch 2 this winter. But hey, you know, that's good. I'm glad to see. It blows my mind that that game was PlayStation. Not that it was PlayStation exclusive, but that it's been PlayStation exclusive for as long as it has been. I would have expected that game to have like a 1-year exclusivity window, but it's been like 5 or 6 at this point. But hey, that's cool that it's coming other places. And also, Final Fantasy 16 is coming to Xbox. I don't think that Shadow dropped. I did not write down a release date. But hey, that's also coming to Xbox. That also makes perfect sense. Next up, we have Amphibian? Aphelion? I think it's Amphibian. It might be Aphelion. This is a game in collaboration with the ESA, the European Space Agency, not the Entertainment Software Association, which the Entertainment Software Association is the people who used to do E3. No, this is the European Space Agency. You're in space, okay. It honestly didn't look anything that special, but that's coming out. They're making a solo leveling game. Is it also a fighting game? I mean, it fucking might be. Because that also feels like the default state of anime games a lot of the time. Is that, hey, are you releasing a new anime game? Let's make that it's either a fighting game or a visual novel. I literally don't remember. Planet of Lana 2. The first Planet of Lana, I never played. I honestly don't even remember it coming out. But visually, I think the game looked fantastic. And I think the sequel also looks very good. Like, I love the art styles. A game with an art style I don't love is the Super Meat Boy remake, or the Super Meat Boy 3D. That game just does not translate into 3D. Not that the original game was pretty either. But, you know, that was intentionally so. This one's kind of weird. It had, I guess, even though, as far as I know, Edmund McMullen created Super Meat Boy, he either doesn't own the IP or got swindled out of the IP. Something at some point, they can make Super Meat Boy games without his input. So this is being done by some other team, and I saw his post on TikTok about it, where he was like, oh yeah, you know, I had no idea this existed. And I'll tell you know, the developers sure are in for it. That's going to be a very hard game to make. But I think he wished them the best of luck. I hope I'm remembering that correctly. He might not have, but I think he did. I don't know. It seems like it's going to have like a massive multiplayer or something like that. Like there seemed to be a bunch of them running around at one point. I don't know. The idea of Super Meat Boy in 3D sounds not terrible, but Meat Boy is a frustrating game, and I know 2D platformers can be frustrating. Annoying 3D platformers can be downright diabolical, so that's not something I look forward to. I think this is the last level we have to do before we can then go to the final boss. There are no ghosts at the Grand. I admittedly, I do want to look this up. Is this made by the developers of We Happy Few? I admittedly do not know. Developer is... Okay, no, they've got no other games. The developer is Sunday? Yeah, Friday, Sunday. But Sunday as in like ice cream sundae, not the day. So I have no idea who these developers are. For some reason, art style-wise, it kind of reminds me of something like We Happy Few. And I know Microsoft did buy the developers of We Happy Few. That's the only reason why I thought they might be making it. But no, this is some sort of game where you're at this hotel, you're renovating it with a gun. Which, like, you've got, like, a repair gun. But it doesn't look bad. It looks kind of interesting. Compulsion does We Happy Few. Is Compulsion still around? That's a Canadian developer? Wait, Compulsion did South of Midnight? What the fuck? Oh shit, I didn't know that. I had no idea they did... A Canadian developer did South of Midnight? Okay. Who am I to judge? I had no idea. I had no idea. I just know them as the We Happy Few developers, which I did not like that game. There's a survival game I didn't like. Ew. So, yeah. But yeah, no Ghost at the Grand. You know, you're in this hotel. There's some sort of mystery. But, you know, you're fixing it up. You've got your repair gun. But hopefully it all works out in the end. Overall, it looked fine. There's some interesting elements to it. Next up, Animo? I've seen someone somewheres on TikTok thought this was the Game Freak game. They looked at this and thought, like, oh, this is the Game Freak. Because this looks like, it's like a Pokemon-inspired game. You know, where it's inspired by, like, Pal World or something. And so I saw someone look at this game and be like, oh, when they heard Xbox had a Game Freak game, this must be Xbox's Game Freak game. When no, this is just some weird Pokemon-like game. That really does feel like it's going to be like a free-to-play game with microtransactions. It definitely gives that art style of, like, Infinite Nikki. I know Pal World was a paid game, but yeah, no, I don't really care for this one. And then finally, I have Chronos the New Dawn. I think this was another Souls-like. I'll be honest, I don't really remember. But I know, you know, we've seen this game before. We got an updated look. Okay. And then the final thing we got to talk about for the Xbox show, as we go and beat this game, because we're at the final, but I cannot believe it took us an hour just to talk about the Xbox handheld. That's actually kind of wild. Or just to talk about the Xbox show. The final thing we got to talk about is the Xbox Rogue Ally. I don't know if it's Rogue or ROG. I'm gonna say Rogue. The Xbox Rogue Ally, because I think that sounds better. It might be ROG, but I think it's Rogue. So there are two SKUs of this. There's the Xbox Rogue Ally. It's like Pokemon. I don't know the correct pronunciation, so I'm just gonna switch back and forth between the ones I think are correct. Is it Luther or Luther? It's a Superman thing. Again, we'll get to it. So there are two SKUs. There's the Xbox Rogue Ally, and then the Xbox Rogue Ally X. So, it's kind of like how Xbox has the Xbox Series S in the Series X. So there are two SKUs. One of them is cheaper than the other. I know one of the big differences is that, like, the X one has, like, a terabyte of storage, whereas the non-X one has, like, 526 or whatever the standard is. So I know that's one of the big differences. But yeah, so these are handhelds. Now, I know some people say, like, oh, they're just reskins, because the Rogue Ally is a console that already exists. I've been hearing Greg Miller talk about it for the past, like, week or two. So this is already a handheld that exists. But it's got an Xbox skin. You know, it runs Windows, so it's able to play Xbox games. It's able to play Steam games. It's able to play games from the Epic Games Store. So there is a lot of flexibility here. That is good. I know that alone sells this for a lot of people. Because, well, yes, you can play those style games on, like, a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck kind of uses its own custom Linux hardware, which from people, what I've been told, it's kind of hard. It can be difficult to work around the Steam Deck's hardware, whereas Windows is, Windows. It's a lot more predictable. So I know, some people alone are excited for that. We did not get a release date for this, just coming this holiday season. Now, this does come after a news story last week, where Xbox canceled, at least for the moment, their Xbox handheld. Because this is a collaboration with another company, Xbox was also working on their own style of handheld that because of this, they've scrapped, at least for the moment. But it's coming out later this year. They did not give a price. And that is very intentional. I've seen a lot of people say, I've seen a lot of Xbox fanboys. There's this guy named is his name Ethan? He runs a TikTok that's like everything everywheres or some shit like that. This guy has been the most annoying cunt in the world this past week. Because he's a big time Nintendo Switch hater. He hates Nintendo. And he loves Xbox. He loves Steam. And he has spent this past week sucking Xbox's dick. And it's been the most annoying fucking thing ever. He said oh, if you took away Nintendo's IP, nobody would buy a Nintendo Switch. And it's like, no shit, you fucking dumb cunt. Nobody would buy anything if you took away what made them special. Oh my god, fuck right off. And then he's talking about this thing oh, this is gonna be the Nintendo Switch killer. Finally, oh sure, nobody bought it. People talk about the Steam Deck as if it's a big deal. Only 5 to 6 million Steam Decks have been sold. The Steam Deck has not actually sold as well as Nintendo Switch 2 haters will have you believe. The Switch 2 is not competing with the Steam Deck. This Xbox ROG Ally X is competing with the Steam Deck, but this Xbox isn't competing with the Switch 2 either. Because if you look at the price, the current cheapest ROG Ally, the system that currently exists, is $650. And the standard, the upgraded one, is $900. This Xbox ROG Ally is gonna cost minimum $700. Minimum is gonna be $700. I would not be surprised if it costs $1,000. If specifically the ROG Ally X costs $1,000, I would in no way be surprised. That's just kind of where we're at with gaming and Xbox. But oh no, this potentially $1,000 system is gonna be the Switch killer. This is gonna be the thing that kills the Nintendo Switch. Nobody's gonna... people complain about how the Switch 2 is too expensive at $450. But they expect this potentially $1,000 handheld to kill the Switch 2. Fuck right off, all you. And I know, from their perspective, the people who like the Switch 2 are the annoying cunts. People like me are the annoying cunts, and they see themselves in the right. I get it. But it's the misinformation that kills me. If you're complaining about the Switch 2's price, and then not even bringing up the price of this thing, but saying it's gonna kill the Switch 2, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot at best. Actively malicious at worst. I know, is it Hanlon's razor? Assume stupidity over malice? Still. And by the way, don't send hate to this guy. I know I just called him a dumb cunt, but, fight it out. I'm fighting it out in the comments. I think before this, the worst thing I'd ever called him is a loser. Honestly, that has been my standard. Whenever I see someone spreading Switch 2 misinformation, my number one reply is just to call them a loser and do the thumbs down emoji. Same thing I do for a Cybertruck. If I see a Cybertruck in the wild, I just call the driver a loser and give them a thumbs down, because it hurts way worse than calling them an idiot or a MAGA idiot or whatever, an Elon Musk dick rider. Calling them a loser hurts way more. Yeah, I do not remember what this guy is called. It's not everything. I don't know, and I could go looking for it. It probably won't. TikTok loves showing me his shit for some reason. Probably because I keep calling him a loser in the comments. That it's like, oh, you're engaging with this. Oh, well, you might as well keep seeing it. But no, I actually, like, in the grand scheme of things, this Xbox handheld's not bad. I get the promise. I get the potential. People, again, Greg Miller's been talking how much he likes the ROG Ally. So an Xbox branded one that does Xbox games, that does Steam and Epic Game Store and all that, that has potential. It's not going to be a Switch killer. The Steam Deck isn't a Switch killer, because people, just because they're all handhelds, people like to say that, oh, they're competing in the same markets, and they're not. If anything, this is competing in, like, the same market as, like, a gaming laptop, like an Alienware. Alienware still exists, right? I don't know. Wait, what the fuck? Honda made a Koraidon motorcycle? Like a real-life Koraidon motorcycle? What the fuck? I don't know, I'm just swiping through TikTok and looking for it. Because we beat the boss! We beat Super Mario Sunshine! We still have like a bunch of show left. That one story took us a whole hour. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of the Xbox showcase. Oh, Silksong! Real quick, we did get Silksong information. Hey, guess what? By the time this ROG Ally launches this holiday, Silksong will be out. We got some new gameplay and whatnot. Can I be honest? I'm still very worried about Silksong. Like, yeah, the game. Do I think the game's coming out this year? Probably. But I'm not, like, do I worry that, like, oh, this isn't gonna be that good? Like, do I worry that it might not be good? Yes. Yes, I do. Mario? Alright, there we go. But yeah, no, Silksong, it'll be out. I'm amazed we haven't gotten a release date yet. I know they're saying it's coming out this year. Guess what? That's not the first time that's been said. I still have my reasons to be skeptical. I don't know. Based on the next news story, whether we're gonna get a Nintendo Direct seems less likely now than it did a week ago. But it's not zero. So, like, anything's possible. Including maybe even like a Indie Direct, which is also possible. Even though I definitely think Silksong is big enough to not be in an Indie Direct. I don't know, maybe Nintendo made a deal with them and that's why they haven't given a release date. I don't know. But yeah, the Xbox Showcase, it's better than the other two. Mainly, again, I like Obsidian, I like Outer Worlds. I liked Grounded from what I play of it. It made me want to replay the original Grounded, so it's doing something right. There's a few other games in here that look good. You know, a new Double Fine thing. Clockwork Revolution looks good. Fate's End. You know, for all my complaining I've done this past hour, there are definitely some things I'm interested in. Arguably more than I am the other thing. So yeah. Awada. So that's Mario Sunshine. Yeah, no, here's the thing about this playing Mario Sunshine. I know we didn't do a lot of the bullshit levels. We didn't do the watermelon. The Chuckster level was easier than I remembered, even though we died a few times. We didn't do the roller coaster. We didn't do the poison river. Some of the bullshit levels we didn't do. But the game was still very frustrating. But it was frustrating in a good way. Like, Sunshine is still very clearly a Nintendo game, and it is a very entertaining Nintendo game. Like, the water jetpack, I think, worked great when it worked. I hate that the game takes it away from you half the time. For all, like, the platforming levels where you think it should be good. I know you can go back and do them in time trials. I'm not gonna. I liked playing Sunshine again. I'm glad I did it. I do wonder, is Sunshine gonna get remade this year? We don't know about a new Mario game. We do know the team that it was finally confirmed that the team doing Donkey Kong is the same team that did Mario Odyssey. That has been officially confirmed. But if you've been playing Super Mario or Mario Kart World, the Piantas are back. But also all the water vehicles are Flood. Are we going to get a new Mario Sunshine? I think we might get a new Mario Sunshine, as weird as that sounds. The paintbrush should have been Kamek. The Kamek item, that should have been the paintbrush. But no, I enjoyed Mario Sunshine way more than I thought I would. I was expecting to be way more annoyed. I had a pretty good time. But with that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some water as well because I've just drank another glass. And then we'll talk about Splatoon, and we'll do all the other things. Because guess what? I still got like another hour of stuff to talk about, at least, if not two. There's still so much to go. But I will be right back. Alright, let me boot up the Switch 2. I've drank so much water today. Oh my gosh. I filled up like 4 of these Rudy. This is my 5th Rudy's cup. Ugh. Alright, here we are. Mario Kart World. We're gonna hop online. You know, do some online stuff. We'll see. Ugh. Oh, we'll actually talk about that later. I was doing some tests. And so we'll talk about that one later. But yeah, I just gotta remember. Okay, so our next story is Splatoon. So a lot of us were expecting a Nintendo Direct either this week or next week. Because, you know, it's E3 season. Nintendo has only skipped a June Direct once in the past 5 years. If not even, it's probably even longer than that. And the only time they did was, I think, COVID. Instead, they just put out all their announcements on Twitter. Because, you know, it was COVID. It was 2020. I think that was the last time they skipped it. Every year since then, Nintendo has done something in June. The only difference is that Nintendo used to do their showcases at the beginning of June. You know, same time as everybody else. And now they tend to do them at the latter half of the month. I want to say last year's showcase was, what, the 23rd? It was later into the month. I could probably find out, because I'm sure I made because I have my thumbnails, and I'm sure I've got a thumbnail for a Nintendo Direct last year. Last year, 2 years ago, the Nintendo Direct was June 21st, and last year the Nintendo Direct was the 18th. Okay, so my dates are a few days off. Do I have anything earlier than that? Do I... 23? Do I have a 22? No, I don't have a 22. I'm surprised I don't have a 22. Okay, whatever. Okay, but either way, Nintendo usually does theirs later in the month, so that's maybe where I'd expect to see the next Nintendo thing, is later in the month. But, with all the hopes of a new Nintendo Direct, Nintendo did put out a piece of information that made it just a little less likely, not impossible. There's one specific thing that means that, oh, they did this now because of the update. That's the only thing. We'll talk about it in a second. But I think the reason why Nintendo did this now, instead of waiting for a Direct, is because the update already came out. And that is Splatoon. So on, what, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, Nintendo, you know, if you logged into the Nintendo Today app, and later they put it up on YouTube, there was a trailer for a new Splatoon game. This is not Splatoon 4. But instead, if you remember like a year ago, there was a rumor of a game called Project Spiral. Where it was, hey, it's Project Spiral, and it's the next Splatoon game. That was the rumor at the time. We now know that no, Project Spiral, while it was a Splatoon game, it was not Splatoon 4, but instead the first ever Splatoon spin-off, called Splatoon Raiders. So what is Splatoon Raiders? Honestly, we have no idea. This trailer, well, we do see like a few seconds of like the player moving around, so we know there are still elements of the original Splatoon. You know, you're a squid kid, adult potentially. I have no idea how old this. I feel like Nintendo slowly shifted away from like squid kid, and now the squids are like young adults, like 18 and something. But you're a Splatoon. You know, you're one of the characters. You still have a gun. You shoot ink. You turn into a squid to move through your ink. You see the character has like a robot that follows them around, presumably. Not like the Pearl drone, but it's more. It's like one of the robots from from the Fallout series. The the death robots. I cannot remember for the life of me what they're called. The robots. I know you fight one right before you take the beryllium agitator. You fight one of those in the other two things. Oh, fuck. What is it called? They're Fallout robots. That's what I know them as. It's not Mr. Handy. Robots. It's not a Protector. It's just a Sentry robot. Okay, and the other one that I was thinking of was this Ultron. You're playing as a mechanic. And you've got like this Sentry robot, you've got your ink tank, you've got your gun. Your ink tank is kind of weird because it's got like a weather vane on it, but it's also got like a cooking pot. And so I've seen some theories about what this is. We'll talk about it here in a second. But we really don't get a sense of like what type of game this is. It has some traditional Splatoon gameplay, but it's also clearly doing some new stuff. You know, it's a spin-off. We don't know if it's single player only. We don't know if there's going to be multiplayer. We know absolutely fucking nothing. Okay, here we do know a few other things. We know there's some sort of like floating base that you and Deep Cut are hanging out on. Because this is the return of Deep Cut. Deep Cut is back. Which, can I be honest, I love that. I like the idea that Deep Cut is returning. Because, well, yes, I did enjoy Deep Cut's role in Splatoon 3 story mode as secondary antagonist turned allies. They're a lot of fun there. But Deep Cut didn't really get the chance to shine that Callie and Marie did in the original or the second games. They didn't really get the chance to shine that Pearl and Marina did in the Octo expansion or Side Order. So giving them their own like dedicated spin-off game sounds like a lot of fun. Because if you remember from the story mode of Splatoon 3, Deep Cut, they're treasure hunters. They go out and they hunt for treasure. That's why they're in the Forgotten City. I can't remember what it's called. The crater? They're in the crater looking for treasure. And after you defeat them, you use the treasure once. And then you give it to them. Because as it turns out, Deep Cut's like Robin Hood. Like, sure, they're ruthless treasure hunters. But they're all doing it to, like, support the orphans. Like, yeah, they're basically like Robin Hood. So it is really cool to see Deep Cut again. They've got new designs. Because they've clearly, like, they're taking a helicopter towards the Sail Slate Isles, Shell Sling, Heliolate. It's a rock. They're named after a certain type of rock. And they're going there, their helicopter crashes, and now they're stranded. You know, they've been marooned. And presumably, there's at one point there's like a thing where like Frey is like helping up the pilot. I'm pretty sure your player character, who the community has dubbed the Mechanic, because they don't have a name or anything. And you know, most Splatoon characters are, you know, Agent 3, Agent 4, Agent 8. Presumably, everyone's just been calling them the Mechanic. And I actually kind of hope they just continue to be called the Mechanic. You know, kind of like in Fallout. You know how, like, it's the Sole Survivor, the Postman, the Lone Wanderer. Some of that might have been conflated there. But you get my point, right? In Fallout, sure, you can name your character whatever. But they all have, like, some sort of code name. I kind of hope they do the same thing here. Like, yeah, sure, your Inkling can be whoever, but they've all got a code name, and this one's is the Mechanic. So, you know, you're stranded on this island. There's clearly some sort of, like, treasure in the center that you're looking for. But, you know, the island's surrounded by some sort of storm. And that's kind of it. That's all we know at the moment. And what type of game is this? Honestly, we have no idea. The big one that I've seen thrown around is that this is going to be a survival game. Kind of like Grounded. Because if you look at the main character's, like, backpack, right? I mentioned they have, like, a cooking pot. what if that cooking pot isn't like some sort of like weird Splatoon technology thing? You know, like the pencil typewriter or the squeezer or something dumb like that. What if it is literally just a cooking pot? And for the first time in this Splatoon game, you're gonna need to cook food and drink water to keep those meters filled. What if it's a survival game? What if that wind turbine on the other side is for generating power? And maybe you need power to do certain things. Like, I've played Astroneer, and one of the things you can put on your backpack in Astroneer is a little wind turbine that kind of looks like this. So I see the aspects of a survival game. You know, you've got this raft made out of wood floating in the ocean. What if it takes some influence from that? And you're like, as you go through, you're developing your raft. Presumably there's going to be some sort of fishing mini game. Because on all of Shiver's artwork, you see her you see her with a fishing rod. So maybe there's going to be like a fishing mini game that you can use to get food. Because yes, octopuses do eat other fish. I know that's like there's like an Aquaman thing of like, oh, does Aquaman not eat other fish because he can talk to them? And the answer is that yes, Aquaman does eat fish. So I totally think it being a survival game is 100% possible. If it is a survival game, I will in no way be disappointed. I think the mechanics of Splatoon could work really well in a survival game. Sure, would it be different? Yeah, but after they did a roguelite recently, I think they could get away with a survival game. And, you know, you're exploring these shale salt islands or whatever, collecting resources, working your way towards this treasure. And there's gonna be a boss monster of some sort. I think this could work. The other idea I've had is, what if this is another roguelite? That, you know, you're on your little base outside of the area, and you go into these islands, and because, you know, they're guarded by, like, this tornado, this hurricane, every time you enter them, the island's a little different. And you basically, instead of going, like, the Tower of Order, where you're going floor by floor, what if you're going island by island? Or, you know, section by section, and once you get through all 10 sections on the island, you go to the next island, and you have to complete so many islands until you can fight the bosses. If I could totally see that, you know, the developers of Splatoon did Side Order, they did a roguelite mode, and they really enjoyed it. They had a lot of fun working on a roguelite mode. Oh my god, I've never seen manta rays before. That's cool. It's our big men. But yeah, what if Splatoon developers had a lot of fun making the roguelite mode? And instead of, you know, making that like the main story mode of Splatoon 4, they decide to spin it off and make it its own game. You know, flesh it out even... Because that is one of the one things I will say about the Side Order. I do enjoy Side Order a lot, but it is kind of underdeveloped. Like, they definitely could have put some more into it. More mission types, more floor types. There's a lot more they could have done with Side Order. And so if they want to flesh it out into its own game, where, you know, you're raiding these different islands, roguelite style, collecting treasure, and then the treasure you get as you explore converts into money that you can use to get upgrades, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I can see this being a fully fleshed out roguelite. We just don't know yet. And I think it's... The one thing that I think is interesting is that we don't know. We don't know what Splatoon Raiders is going to be. But presumably, it's coming out sooner rather than later, because I guess it has already been rated by the ESRB. And usually the ESRB doesn't rate games that aren't, you know, a few months out. You know, usually the ESRB leaks games because they rate them so right before they get revealed. It's happened plenty of times. Potentially to a new Katamari Damacy? Or maybe that was a trademark thing that revealed a new Katamari. I don't know all the details. But, yeah, potentially this game's already been rated by the ESRB. So this Splatoon Raiders... Because my first thought is, oh, the fact that we didn't, you know, get an idea of what type of game this is, just, hey, it's the new Splatoon spinoff, my guess would be it's not coming out until next year. But the fact that it's already been rated, we don't know, is this going to be a $60/$70 game? Or is this like a smaller Nintendo game? Is this going to be a digital-only game, you know? There is potential that we could see this game out as early as like September. Because this, you know, when they say spin-off, I mean, what type of spin-off is it? Because spin-offs come in many ways, shapes, or forms. I know when you think spin-off, you usually think like smaller game. But that's not exclusive. I mean, Mario Kart's a spin-off, and this game's huge. So, literally anything is possible. But either way, I'm excited for a new Splatoon. I like the idea. I like that these characters are back. I think there's a lot of potential in a Splatoon spin-off. Sure, it's not Splatoon Kart, but if they want to make Splatoon grounded, oh yeah, I'm all aboard for Splatoon grounded. So the other thing in the announcement was the Splatoon 10.0 update. Because one of the big things that people wanted in Splatoon 3 was third kits. I think both previous Splatoon games, after they finished off their seasons, a few months later the developers came back and added third kits. So, of course, people started wondering, like, hey, with Splatoon being done, are we ever going to get third kits? Sure, when they finished up, you know, with the last update, they said, like, yeah, there's going to be a few smaller updates, we're going to do a few more Splatfests and big runs. But, you know, people didn't know if we were going to get third kits or not. Yes, we are getting third kits. So the Splatoon 10.0 update adds in 30 new kits. There's specifically 2 brands, Barazuka and Embers. 15 of the kits are from Barazuka, 15 of the kits are from Ember. Even though there might actually be 29 kits, I'm not entirely sure about that. But, so there are all these new kits. If I had to say the theme, it's order and chaos. All of the Barazuka weapons are more like rugged, like you see them on like a background of stone, whereas all the Embers weapons are sort of like futuristic. They use like bright neon colors. They're displayed on like televisions. I legitimately do think it's going with the Order Chaos theme that, you know, kind of represents Splatoon inside Order. At least that's been my take on it. This update, by the way, already came out. It came out 2 days ago on the 12th. So if you want to go play this, or if you just bought a Switch 2 and never played Splatoon, now is a great time to get into it. I know, but I'm looking over on the Reddit, which is, by the way, where I'm going to pull up all the kits from. Yeah, no, people are excited. You know, a lot of people are getting into Splatoon 3 for the first time because they're getting a Switch 2 and they're like, you know what, I might as well check out Splatoon 3. And I will say, I think it is 100% worth it. I think it's great. So what are some of these new kits? I'll be honest, they're not all great. There are some good ones. There are some ones I'm excited for. But there are some pretty shit ones. Some, at least like 4 of the kits, they just took like another weapons kit and recycled it. So like some of them, like the Splooshomatic, I think the Carbon Roller, the Paintbrush. Like the Paintbrush is just the Squeezer kit on a different weapon. My weapon, the Tri-Slosher, did get a new kit. And it is Splat Bombs and what's it? Oh fuck, Shield? It's not Wall. What the fuck is it called? Oh my god, why can I not remember the special's name? Specials. It is called... Fuck. I just saw... Splatter Screen. The new Tri-Slosher got Splat Bombs and Splatter Screen. And I have been using this weapon. It's a pretty good kit. I got lucky with this kit. Man. Splatter Screen combos great with the Tri-Slosher. Because Splatter Screen, if the opponent walks through it, does 40 damage, and Tri-Slosher does 60. So if they walk through the screen and you hit them once, instant dead. And if the opposite is true, if you hit them and they try to like retreat and go through the screen, also instant death if you throw it behind them. So that's a great kit. I got really lucky with that one. I'll be honest, I'm not a weapons expert. I don't know what kits are good and bad. I know that there's a new charger kit. They gave a charger sprinkler and crab tank. That's great. That's a good kit that should hopefully rival Pencil, which also has a good kit. So that's a good one. Reflux got Torpedo and Booyah Bomb, which also works pretty well. I know the other Reflux is pretty decent because it's one of the few weapons that has missiles, but having that works really good. Splattershot Pro got missiles, so there's another missiles weapon. Tentamissile. Tentabrella did not get a good kit. It got Toxic Mist Super Chomp. Ooh, that ain't that good. Really, honestly, Brellas were not amazing in Splatoon 3, or Splatoon 2, I mean. Brellas were okay in Splatoon 3. They were good. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. It's a very high skill ceiling weapon, especially. Then in Splatoon 3, they just said fuck Brellas. They nerfed Brellas to hell. There are glitches with Brellas. And they just have terrible kits. Man, sure, in single player they're not bad, but in multiplayer, Brellas fucking suck. The Tentabrella kit in the first collection sucks, and in the second collection, the Embers one, the Undercover Brella, they gave it Curling Killer Whale 5.1. That fucking sucks as well. Ugh. So, I think the Barzooka collection's pretty decent. It's got some good ones in it. Right? Again, it's got my Tri-Slosher, which, they did Tri-Slosher good. The Embers collection, I love the Embers collection is like the Order one. Like, they're going for more, like, futuristic. A lot of bright colors. Design-wise, I love some of these weapons. Design-wise, I think the Embers collection is really good. Like, just the normal splatter shot has Burst Bomb Kraken. I think that's a decent kit. And it's got, like, this rainbow ink tank. Looks great. Let's see. Is it Dapple? Not Dapple Dualies. The, Jet Squelcher Dualies. Got point sensor, a splatter screen. That's fucking awful. Oh my gosh. For people who use Jet Squelcher Dualies, I can't remember the weapon's actual name. That sucks. Was it Cookie? Someone was freaking the fuck out about this, because they just ruined that kit. Oh my god. That sucks. That sucks for them. Dreadringer, on the other hand, got, Curling Bomb Crab Tank, which Dreadringer normally is stuck with Reef Slider, which sucks. So while Crab Tank isn't perfect, that's a lot better. And it's mainly curling bombs that's the problem. Like, if it had gotten Torpedo, this weapon would be amazing. But again, that's just me watching Prochara. Which, by the way, if you want actual analysis on like whether or not these weapons are good, I recommend Prochara. He spent like 2 hours just going over all of them, and yeah, he does a better explanation than I could. Recently, right, ever since Side Order, I've gotten big into the Splatana Stamper, because I really like the Splatana Stamper in Side Order, and it got a new kit with Auto Bomb and Booyah. Fantastic kit. All three of Stamper's kits are really good. Even if I suck at Zipcaster, it's still a really good kit. And yeah, this new Stamper kit is gonna be my go-to. That's so good. Big Swig got Torpedo Splashdown, which Big Swig is not an offensive weapon. Big Swig very much is a support weapon. And yet, all 3 of its kits are offensive kits. But of all 3 of their kits, I'd say this one's probably the best. I have used this new Big Swig. And in at least Turf War, it actually worked pretty well. You know, you play Big Swig like you normally do, and then anytime anybody even gets close to you, you just panic splashdown, and so far it's worked like 90% of the time. Or, you know, you shark near an enemy, hit the splashdown, and they can't get away. I got a triple kill once off of that. So yeah, well, Big Swig is a weapon I want to like a lot more than I do. At least it got a decent kit. Or, you know, this kit could have been worse. Could have been better, definitely, but it could have been worse. You know, a weapon that did not get a good kit, fucking Dynamo. It got fucking point sensor killer whale. And that is not good. Yeah, point sensor killer whale on Dynamo roller. Nope, that ain't gonna do it. That is not that good. So that sucks for those people. Another weapon I've liked since Side Order, the normal bow, the Tri-Stringer? I think it's called the Tri-Stringer. It got its 3rd kit, which is Point Marker and Jetpack. Point Marker sucks. I know people, oh, well, if you're accurate enough, you can combo with it. I don't care. Point Marker sucks. I'd probably argue it's the worst sub in the game. Jetpack, on the other hand, is pretty decent. And I feel like Jetpack combos good enough with Tri-Stringer that it's probably a decent kit. Would I like something better than Point Sensor? Yeah. But it's not terrible. Octobrush got Auto Bomb Kraken. That's decent. That's pretty decent. I'm pretty sure that's its Splatoon 1 kit. More or less. So yeah, there's a bunch of other kits I obviously didn't mention. There's a bunch of weapons that didn't get 3rd kits either, that presumably will get 3rd kits in the future. Like, I would be amazed if every weapon doesn't get a 3rd kit. Because they say they're still going to do updates. So I think they'd probably have to do another 30. And I could see that coming because, another thing, in the new update they added a new stage. They brought back Urchin Underpaths from Splatoon 1. I would argue the main stage of Splatoon 1. You know, the one that was in all the trailers. The one that made it into Mario Kart 8. Yeah, Urchin Underpass is now in Splatoon 3. Which is kind of crazy. If you had asked me if they were going to add another stage, I would have never guessed that. But that's really cool. I have played on it. It plays more or less how I remember it. I'm sure there are some changes. But yeah, that's a really cool get. And I would not be surprised. My theory, I think they're going to bring back the Reef from Splatoon 2. Because that was the big stage of Splatoon 2. That's the one with the bridge that you can go over or under. It's arguably the most similar stage to Urchin Underpass. But I think makes perfect sense as an addition. So I would not be surprised if in like 6 months, 6 months feels like a long time. Let's say in September, to celebrate the 3-year anniversary, we get another 15 kits, and we get the Reef come back. That's my prediction. But yeah, getting Urchin Underpass back, that's a cool get. Other things in the Switch 2, in the version, this is our Switch 2 update. So the game now has the Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions have parity. The Switch 2 version runs better in certain areas, you know, in like the main lobbies, in the Grand Festival area. So overall, the game's supposed to run better. That's good. That's good to hear. I guess they did some weird thing, because there was a glitch in Splatoon 3 on Switch 2 where like you were able to squid roll off of things, because squid rolling is based on like the graphics of the game, and because the Switch 2's graphics are better, it caused squid rolling to kind of glitch out. They fixed that glitch, but I guess to make some parody stuff work, they had to actually make the original Switch version just a little bit worse to like make it all like sync up properly, which seems weird. Like if anything, you'd think like, oh, they made the Switch 2 version a little worse to make the game run better. But no, weirdly enough, they did like the opposite. You know, it's good that we're getting all that. It's good that we're getting stability. There was a weird change where, so it's starting in 10.0, players' names in X Battle will be auto-generated call signs. So instead of displaying your name, it displays a call sign. And each player's call sign is generated based off their equipment, weapon, and gears. Why did they make this change? I have no fucking idea. This is just like a really random change. I haven't really seen any explanation for this. If like there's some reason they'd want you to like stay secret in X Battle, I don't know. I've never, for all the like 200 plus hours I've put into Splatoon 3, I've never done a single X Battle. I'm not that good. I'm not that good. So I've never messed around with it. It's kind of weird, you know? I find that kind of weird that, they made this change to X Battle. To, just, hide people's names. I guess there is a way to see it, like, later on or something. But, I don't know why they did this. This is just a really random change. The one thing I'm surprised wasn't in this update, because this was the Switch 2 update for all intents and purposes, they didn't add mouse support. Even though, one of the big innovation on the Switch 2, I'd argue, is mouse control. And I feel like Splatoon 3 would be like the perfect game to show that off. I know Cyberpunk has mouse control, and supposedly it actually works really good, but I would fully have expected Splatoon 3 to have gotten mouse support, and it just didn't. Now, that doesn't mean it might get mouse support in the future. If they do, another update, it might be mouse support. That's totally not out of the cards. I've seen some people say, oh, the reason they didn't do mouse support was because mouse support would give Switch 2 players an advantage. That, the difference between mouse and non-mouse is so big that they just wouldn't let that happen. I don't buy that, honestly. I think gyro aiming is decent enough. Is a decent enough I'm going to say compromise. I can't remember the word I'm looking for. Compensation. Mouse support. Gyroscope is a big enough compensation. Just forgot the word again there. A big enough compensation for mouse controls that I think you could add mouse support for Splatoon 3 and you'd be fine. And I mean, most shooters like, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, and whatnot, they allow PC and console players to play together. And while I know, usually PC players do better, it works out fine in the end. So I think it's just really weird that they didn't add mouse support. I probably would have rather had mouse support, but it's what they decided to do. So yeah, like I said, this update came out, like they revealed this trailer on Tuesday. The update came out like the following night. They revealed all the weapons later that day, and then the following day the update was out for like the 12th. And yeah, again, I've played some of these new weapons. They've worked out fine. There was a Big Run event today. They added, it's Big Run in Urchin Underway? Or not Urchin Underway. Slipway? I can't remember where the Big Run is. There's a Big Run event going on right now. I played it on Switch 2. I feel the Switch 2 version, I'll be honest, I don't notice like huge differences. But, I would say it's better, I guess. it works fine. I've been enjoying it. You know, it's still Splatoon. Splatoon is still good. So yeah. Undertow Slip Spillway. I was close. I didn't want to confuse it with Urchin Underway, but I knew it had under somewheres in there. Undertow Spillway. So yes, but it's still Splatoon 3. It's still good. Do I want Splatoon 4? Yes. And I'm sure it will come in due time. But hey, I'm excited for Splatoon Raiders. Alright, our next story is Switch 2 sales. So Nintendo put out a tweet on... what day was it? On the 10th. So they put out a tweet on the 10th that was, hey, congratulations, Nintendo. You know, hey, look at us. You know, let us pat ourselves on the back. The Switch 2 has now sold 3.5 million units in just 4 days. Admittedly, I predicted they were going to sell 6 million. And so they did about half that. But 3.5 is still really good. Hey, guess what, gamers? You know that boycott that I said never worked because a video game boycott... Hey, gamers. You know that boycott on the Switch 2 that I said would never work because video game boycotts never work? Guess what? The boycott never worked because boycotts never work. When will gamers learn? Gamers talk a big talk, but when it comes to it, gamers always chicken out. They always want the new thing. They always want the next thing. Whenever they say they're going to boycott something, they don't boycott it and just buy it anyways. And then they enjoy it, right? They boycotted Modern Warfare 2. They all played Modern Warfare 2, and they loved it. People have boycotted the Switch 2. They all played it, and guess what? They all really enjoyed it. People really enjoy Mario Kart. Not that I'm saying Nintendo should get away with all of its bullshit, but a boycott has never worked, and will probably never work. It's just the way these things go. I mean, I'm not one of them. I was going to buy a Switch 2 regardless. I never joined a stupid fucking boycott because I knew the boycott was never going to work. I know it's those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. I get it. But guess what? So many people don't. But oh, let's boycott the Switch 2 and buy a $700 Xbox handheld. That surely will solve all of our problems. You know, sure, we complain that the Switch 2 was too expensive, but oh, the new Xbox ROG Ally is going to be the Switch 2 killer, and it's only $700 for the base model. Like, fuck right off. Oh my god. So, what does this mean? 3.5 million. This now makes the Switch 2 the fastest selling Nintendo hardware ever at launch. So compared to any other Nintendo console, this has sold, you know, more in 4 days than any other. This also makes it... That's one achievement, right? Being the fastest selling Nintendo hardware. On top of that, it's also the fastest selling video game hardware at launch. So even looking beyond Nintendo to all of video games, this is the fastest selling video game console. Hardware. Because, you know, classification. Just to put this into perspective. So the Nintendo Switch 2 sold 3.5 million in 4 days. That's roughly 875,000 a day. So yeah, almost a million a day. The PlayStation 4, another one of the best-selling consoles of all time, it took 16 days for the PlayStation 4 to sell 2.1 million, which is roughly 131,000 a day. The PS5, which sold 3.4 million in its first month. So that's about 113,000 a day. The Nintendo Switch sold 2.74 million in its first month, which is about 91,000 a day. And finally, to reach the Switch 2 numbers, that 3.4 million, the closest estimate, right, that they put down here, the Valve Steam Deck sold 3.7 million in 4.5 years. The Switch did in 4 days what took the Steam Deck 4.5 years. The Switch 2 in 4 days have sold more than half of Steam Decks in its entire lifetime. Because for as much as people claim the Steam Deck is the Switch killer, that, oh, you shouldn't buy a Switch 2, you should buy a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, which is worse hardware than the Switch 2 BT dubs, has only sold 6 million units. And yet people say this new $700 Xbox console is gonna kill the Switch 2. It's not even gonna sell as much as the Steam Deck. And the Steam Deck's only sold like 6 million. So that's kind of what we're looking at. All this information was compiled by Artemis over on this credits Instagram. It's AARDIMUS, Artemis. So if you want to look up these numbers, if you want to fact check any of that, that's where you go to go check them out to see this post. But yeah, that's some crazy numbers. In 4 days, 3.5 million. Wild. But hey, that's just the way things are working. Yeah. Now I've seen shifting goalposts. A lot of people who, hate the Switch 2 have said, well, oh, the Wii U also sold really well in its first few months, right? That console sold 3 million. So, we shouldn't judge it yet. The Switch 2 has already sold like a fourth of all Wii U sales in 4 days. But, so I've seen some people shift the goalpost and say, yeah, the Wii U started off well as well. Because that point is bullshit. The thing it does get at, though, is can the Switch continue this momentum? Sure, its first 4 days have gone really well. The system has been out for a week now. People are enjoying it. Sure, are there issues with the new console? Yes. Guess what? Every new console has issues. Go back since consoles have begun. There's always been issues on day one consoles. Right? And yes, do some people have broken joysticks that they're claiming are stick drift? Even though stick drift literally only comes from wearing down of hardware over time, and having a console for a day, for like a week now, cannot by that definition be wearing down of time, and you just got a broken console? Yes. Is there a battery life issue with the Switch 2? Also, yes. Will some of this stuff be, is Nintendo offering to replace any broken consoles? And are they going to be putting out patches to fix some of this shit? Yes to both. But, it's a new console launch. I learned this with the original Switch, that there's is it Crobocat video the week the Switch came out, making it look like the worst fucking console ever because of all the glitches people had in it, people who got faulty systems. Guess what? That's just how it works. I've been around the block enough times. And for the people who are waiting for like all the bugs to be fixed out in like a year's time, yeah, no, that's actually a pretty smart move. Right? Wait for them to fix some of these issues. I feel like waiting for an OLED Switch 2 is maybe a little too far. Right? Like, that's a little too much for something that is no way guaranteed. Because I honestly think the Switch 2 screen looks fantastic. I'll say, I know, OLED has, like, better colors, better brightness, or whatever. I get that. I get wanting that. The Switch 2 screen looks fantastic. And for me, it's basically on par with the OLED of the original. I think it looks great. But I get wanting to wait. Right, I know there's a lot of people, now that we have a Splatoon game coming to Switch 2, I know there's a lot more people who are like, oh, well, you know, I wasn't going to pick up a new Switch, but once the Splatoon game comes out, I'll pick it up then. Because, by the way, I don't think I said it earlier, it is Switch 2 exclusive. It's only coming to Switch 2, which makes sense, right? I know Xbox and PlayStation are still putting out Xbox One and PS5 games, or PS4 games 5 years later. Like, the fact that we're still supporting the PS5, 4, and the Xbox One, and yet the Xbox Series X, 2, and the PS6 are expected to come out in, like, a year or two. Yeah, no, this console generation's just fucking weird. But, you know, Nintendo's only gonna do that a little bit. Because they're Nintendo. They know how to make people move to the next console. Mostly. So those are my news stories. I guess let's get to WIBE. Oh god, we've been going for 2 hours already. So WIBE, I'm playing Mario Kart. I've been playing Zelda. We'll talk about it. I want to talk about the new Phineas and Ferb because I have watched it. I've watched all 10 episodes. It's good. I want to talk about Rick and Morty, because, you know, I'm still one of those fools watching Rick and Morty, even though it's not bad. Like, yeah, sure, is Rick and Morty peak greatest sci-fi adult show of all time? God, no. But is it bad? Also, no, not at all. Weirdly enough, this season's been all around pretty decent. Not the funniest season. Like, they have, you know, less jokes, more like, oh, let's tell, like, a story. Like, let's play with conventions of genres. But yeah. I did see How to Train Your Dragon. I experienced it. We'll talk about it. We will. And then I did watch the 1978 Richard Donner Superman. Because, you know, there's a new Superman movie coming out in a few weeks. And I had a bit of inspiration. We'll get to it. And finally, we'll talk about Butchers Masquerade and Dimension 20 if I have time. So, the first thing is Tears of the Kingdom. You know, I've been saying for a while now, I wanted to replay Tears of the Kingdom. But I was gonna wait for the Switch 2 version. Switch 2 version's out. Free upgrade. I already own the game, so I didn't have to pay any extra money for it, which was nice. And so far, I'm like 20 hours in. Maybe, probably closer to 15, actually. And I'm enjoying it. You know, it is nice to just kind of run around the world, not have to worry about, like, oh, is the stream boring? You know, do I have to do something to, like, try to keep the stream interesting? You know, see new places. I feel like because I'm playing it on my own, I get to explore at my own pace. I get to do things at my own pace. There's less restrictions, you know. I can sit there in silence for 10 hours without talking while playing. Playing a game on stream and playing a game on your own is a very different experience. Do I kind of wish I had played it on my own originally, and then right now, 2 years later, I was streaming it? Probably, yes. But so far, I've been enjoying it. I have been having a really good time with it. It's Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom is a fantastic game. I know some chodes will tell you, oh, it's just Breath of the Wild DLC. It's not. There's the new mechanics they add make it feel like such a fresh, new game that, you know, is so inspiring. There is so much creativity in how you solve puzzles. I like that you can now share your creations as well. That you can create QR codes to share your vehicles. That's great. Admittedly, I haven't messed around with it too much outside of getting the infinite balloon and infinite glider, which yeah, you can find those. You can find those codes online. But, you know, it's cool. It's cool to have that stuff. It's cool to just go around and explore. I don't want to talk about everything I've done. So far, I've only done one of the dungeons. I've done the Desert Temple again, which it wasn't really like, oh, I didn't go like out of my way to do it. It was just kind of like I was specifically underground, And when I popped out of the underground, because I'm also doing a no teleportation run, by the way. I know that's how I played it last time, but I think that's like the best way to play, kind of. So in doing it this time, I'm also trying not to use the hover bike this time. I've used it once just because I was stuck and I needed some way to get out, but I'm trying not to use the hover bike as much. And I didn't make like an infinite hover bike or anything like that. It was literally, hey, here's some parts. Let me just slap one together so that way I can get up this thing. Because I don't have enough stamina to climb it or anything. Yeah, it was just easy. Because, yeah, I immediately lost it, by the way. I used it, I took it straight up in the air, jumped off, glided off, and it was gone forever. But the one, so I don't want to tell all the stories, but the one I will tell. In my 80-plus hour playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom, originally on stream, when we went to the Great Plateau, and you talk to the goddess statue on the Great Plateau, it tells you, like, it gives you a quest. It says, like, help me, I'm trapped under the water behind the gate. And when we played through the game on stream, I could not, for the life of me, figure out the solution to that puzzle. That we scoured the entire Great Plateau, and that puzzle drove me crazy. Because, you know, we looked at all the gates, we looked at all the water, and I just couldn't figure it out. So on this playthrough, I got to the Great Plateau, got the quest from the goddess, and had like no, because there's no quest markers or anything, and was like, okay, what the fuck is it talking about? And I walked out the front of the Temple of Time and saw the water right next to the Magnesis Shrine. Okay, it's not right next to it, but you know, it's pretty close by. I saw that and was like, you know what? I wonder if below the Great Plateau, you know how like the Great Plateau's up and there's like a wall, like a castle wall? What if down there's like a bombable wall or a movable gate? And if I move it, it'll drain all the water from that lake. It was just like, literally, I got the quest, and it was the first thing that came to my mind. Sure enough, I jump off the side right next to the water. Right there is a bombable wall that I'm able to blow up. It drains all the water, and there's a statue hidden under, one of the dark statues hidden underneath. Sure enough. And my 80 hours in Tears of the Kingdom on stream, I never figured that out. We must have walked past it 2 or 3 times, minimum. Because there's another shrine nearby that you have to, like, go into a cave for, a little to the, probably to the west of that, or maybe to the east. I don't know, it's one of those directions. Like, if you keep walking down the path. We found that one, but no, I never thought to look on the wall. Not on the Great Plateau, but right next to it, like on the side. So I found that, it gave me a quest where I have to, on the Great Plateau, you know how where the shrines were in the original game? There are now 4 holes to the depths. And so the quest, next to each of those holes, there's an eye, a piece of his eyes. And you have to drop all 4 pieces of the eyes down to the depths, and then you have to take them to the giant statue right underneath the Great Mines. Because we found that statue, and that statue gives you the same quest, right? Like, find me underneath the water. So that's exactly what I did. I did the quest, I found all 4 of the eyes, dropped them into the holes, went down after I dropped all 4 eyes, used them, like, they give you, like, mine carts and cars and whatnot, drove them over, put them in the eye sockets, and then it offered me either a heart container or a stamina vessel. I took a stamina vessel because I feel like most of the time you get heart containers. Like, all the bosses only give you heart containers. So I was like, fuck it, let's take a stamina vessel. How often do I get that? Plus, it's also more important in this game. And then it wasn't Breath of the Wild anyways. So yeah, I took the stamina vessel, and yeah, overall, I don't think it was a bad quest. It used the game's mechanics, you know. Once you dropped the eyes, you had to create, like, little vehicles and whatnot to move the eyes over. It kind of felt like, if you, spoiler alert for Tears of the Kingdom if you've never played it, but there's the spirit temple in Tears of the Kingdom, which involves you moving robot parts over to Minoru's robot. It kind of felt like a precursor to that. Like, the mechanics kind of work. It's different, obviously. Like, there's not as many obstacles to contend with, and you have like multiple options of how to do things. But it kind of felt like a precursor to that, like a simpler version of that. But yeah, it was just, in the original playthrough, I could never figure out this puzzle. Like, it just, the quest stumped me immediately. And this time I actually figured it out. Because I'm going to try to do more side quests. And the stream of Tears of the Kingdom, we did so few side quests. And while I'm not going to do them all, I'm at least going to try to do some more. We'll see, obviously. But I'm going to try. So yeah, that's been my Tears of the Kingdom experience. It's still an amazing game. Even on a second playthrough, yeah, I've been having a great time. So what about Mario Kart? Because I've been playing more Mario Kart. I have not unlocked Mirror Mode yet. I did finally read the thing about how to unlock Mirror Mode. The only thing I think I still have... Because I've been playing a lot of online, so I actually haven't done all of the single-player knockout tours yet. I've done them all online, but in, like, single-player mode? No, I still need to do, like, 1 or 2 of the knockout tours. So, some point in the next, like, day or two, because I only looked it up, like, yesterday. I'll do the last 2 knockout tours. I've gotten, in free roam, I have gotten over 200 P-switches, which, as far as I know, there are 400 P-switches. I feel like I have gotten so many of these P-switches, and yet supposedly I've only gotten half. Allegedly, there are 400. Oh, I think it's a little less than 400. It's like 398 or something like that, which is a weird number. I don't know why they didn't just cap it at 400. But it's like 390 something, allegedly. But so I've done a lot of P-switches. I've had a lot of fun going around in free roam. I haven't gotten that many Peach medallions, and I haven't gotten that many question marks panels either. Those those are a lot easier to keep track of. But there's not really a good way to keep track of P-switches. Like, you would think, like, oh, after you do a P-switch, maybe it, like, shows up on your map, or maybe there's some easy way to, like, tell which ones you've done and haven't. Like, even Tears of the Kingdom, I think once you get, like, a Korok seed, once you get a shrine, it'll tell you, hey, you've done this shrine, or, hey, you got a Korok seed here, or, I swear it fucking tells you something. No, this game tells you nothing. I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like sometime in the next week or two, for one of the topics of the show, I want to do, like, a 10 things I'd add to Mario Kart World. Because while I still am enjoying this game, I've had a lot of fun. I have also been very frustrated, because I am kind of bad at this game. If it hasn't been obvious watching me race the past hour, I am kind of bad at this game. I do have I am enjoying it, but I do have my complaints. And I want to do like a 10 things I'd change, 10 things I think could be improved. Something along those lines. So that's just my thought. I think it makes sense to do. But I'm enjoying it. Do I recommend it? I mean, if you like Mario Kart, of course you're probably going to like this one. I think all the track design is good. Part of it is, there's only 32 tracks. But I think from a development standpoint, I would not be surprised if the developers think of the game differently. We think as traditional Mario Kart fans, there are only 32 traditional tracks. The developers count each of the intermission roads as their own tracks. So, yes, there are 32 traditional tracks and over 100 intermissions. I would not be surprised if the developers consider the intermissions to be their own tracks. And so I feel like that creates like there's like a disconnect there between people who play traditional Mario Kart and like the new way of thinking about it. I don't know. I really need to play a Forza game or like Burnout Paradise again, because it's been a long time since I played Burnout Paradise. But I really need to play like a Forza game, because I feel like that'll give me some like perspective. Because how do Forza games deal with like? Because I know they also have like tracks and whatnot, but how do they deal with like open roads and whatnot? What does that qualify? Or is it just, you know, this is a kart racer, which is more of an arcadey genre, whereas like Forza Horizons is specifically open world kart racer. And this is kind of trying to find the balance between the two, but because it leans more heavily into a kart racer, some of that's being lost. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'm going to do that sometime in the next week or two. We're going to do 10 changes I want in Mario Kart World, or something like that. So the other thing I've been messing around with, which I'm not going to actually use, but I was curious. So for the stream, in the past I've used a webcam. I have a 1080p Logitech webcam that I've had for at least it might even be 10 years. It's a decent, I got it on sale. Like, I think it might have even been like a price error. It's a decent webcam. I know they make better ones nowadays, but for the time and even kind of today, it's pretty decent. But you know, I don't really show my face on camera that much. I have in the past, but not much anymore. So I was kind of curious, like, hey, if I get an adapter, will this just work on Switch 2? And sure fucking enough, I plugged it in, and it worked perfectly fine. Sure, is it the best picture quality? Do I feel like it looks a little bit worse on the Switch 2, filtering through the Switch 2, than it does on PC? Yeah, kind of, but it looks fine. So yeah, I now have a Switch 2. If I ever want to do anything with the Switch 2 webcam, I now have a working Switch 2 webcam. It worked perfectly fine. So that's cool. And it's just it's like a Logitech 1080 something. I don't know. I know there are other webcams that you can get. I've heard the Piranha Plant one's 480. Let's do some Knockout Tour. It's been like an hour like this. But yeah, let's do some of the other mode. But yeah, no, I'm surprised at how much the webcam works. Do I want to show it off? Because it gave us the option earlier to turn it on. Nah, I probably shouldn't. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I don't know. Nah, let's not. But I have messed around with it. I've messed around with voice chat. Specifically earlier today, when I played Big Run, I joined a game chat just to kind of see how it worked. It actually worked pretty well. I just was using the default Switch microphone, and they said they heard me well enough. I heard them well enough, and they were playing in an entertainment center, so they had like a full living room. And even though they were on basically the other side of the room, I heard them perfectly fine. Yeah, were there like a few cutouts and whatnot? Sure, but no difference than like a Discord or anything like that. I honestly think game chat worked fine. I really liked the convenience of sharing your screen. So, because we shared screens with each other. So that way when we were playing Big Run, like if I got down or they got down, we could look at each other's screen to know like, oh, you're over on the other side of the map. Or, hey, you're right there, you know. Right, you could do call-outs, but then you could also just screen peek real quick. And that makes your call-out even better. Yeah, sure, is the screen share a little laggy? Oh, gosh, yes, definitely. But I honestly think game chat worked fine. I was kind of impressed with it. Not like it's anything new. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's like a big innovation or anything. But knowing Nintendo the way I know Nintendo, I was expecting it to work a lot worse than it actually did. But no, I heard them fine. The gameplay, while laggy, looked right. It worked. It conveyed the information we needed it to. We messed around with it for a little bit. Overall, I was kind of impressed. I was kind of impressed with Game Chat. Not bad, Nintendo. You didn't completely fuck it up. I know some people who actually use Discord or Xbox or PlayStation voice chat a lot more than me probably have different experiences. But for me using it, yeah, as someone who doesn't do that often, works perfectly fine. Sure, is it probably easier to get people together on Discord? Yeah, probably. Because I don't think there's a messaging system other than just invite. Because we set up everything through Discord with the intention of, hey, let's check out Game Chat for the hell of it. You get it though. We had to try it out. I was curious. And then I've heard and I like that you can change how much of the other people's screen you see. Hey, do you want to see full boxes? Do you want to see little boxes? Do you want to see no boxes and just their name tag in the little corner? Yeah, you can do that if you want. So that was nice. I have heard there is the next one I have to try out is Game Share, but I have heard the problem with Game Share is that when you game share with people, it makes this black border instead of just sharing the game. It adds this black border around the screen for no fucking reason. So that's kind of dumb. It very clearly wants to be yes, you're in Game Share. Don't you fucking forget it. And I think that's kind of dumb. I wish Game Share just kind of worked anything else or Steam does it, because Steam does it pretty well. So I was kind of disappointed by that. But, what you gonna do? I hope they just keep developing the feature. They update it. They fix some of those issues. They keep adding games to Game Share. I'm surprised Mario Kart doesn't Game Share. Well, I know it has local multiplayer, but you know what I mean. Mario Kart would make sense to Game Share. Well, there was another one, not Splatoon. What was the other one where I was this would be a great Game Share game? That doesn't have... Because right now the games that have it are Brain vs. Brain, Big Brain Academy, Super Mario 3D World, which Super Mario 3D World makes sense. Clubhouse Games makes sense. It wasn't Snipper Clips would make sense. I think Snipper Clips would work well. No, it was... I don't remember. I was thinking of something, though, where I was oh, this would be a good Game Share game. Fuck. I had the thought earlier today, and now I can't remember. It wasn't a Pokemon. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was some multiplayer thing. Whatever. But yeah, so that's my experience with that. Alright, let's move on. Let's talk Ferbius and Finny. So, Dan Povenmire in Swampy Marsh came back with Phineas and Ferb Season 5. Real quick history. I liked the original Phineas and Ferb. I remember when it came out. I remember... Because I had just gotten a TV, a new TV, and Phineas and Ferb had just come out. So it was that. It was that same week. So it was a big deal to be watching the premiere, new TV. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. And I did really like Phineas and Ferb. It's a very formulaic show, but it's a good, fun formula. I admittedly have not seen every episode. I definitely... Because eventually I went to high school, and while I know I didn't give up every animated show in high school, Phineas and Ferb was one of them I did. And especially because by a certain point I was like, okay, we've got a formula. Phineas creates an invention, it disappears before the Candace can bust them. Perry the Platypus stops Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and he self-destructs as a nader. Like, it's very... Like, the fact that the internet can write Phineas and Ferb episodes that fit the formula perfectly, because it's kind of a... It's not that it's easy to do. It's just, it's so... It has such a specific formula that with the right idea, anything can fit into it. And there have been some really... there's some really fun internet Phineas and Ferb episodes. Because it works so well. But my thing with the revival of Phineas and Ferb had always been, okay, the show is so formulaic. We have done this thing so many times. What else can we add? If you're gonna bring the show back, you need to do something new, something different. Or else, you just become The Simpsons. You become South Park. You become Family Guy. Like, you need to break the formula, or else it's not gonna work. I know a lot of those shows have many more seasons than Phineas and Ferb, but still. Like, South Park eventually realized, like, hey, our formula is becoming stale. Let's become episodic. Or let's ditch episodic episodes, right? Let's have every episode of the season be interconnected. Sure, we're still telling the stories, but, you know, there's going to be an overarching season story. And for, like, 4 years, that's what South Park did that made them different, that made things more interesting. And then the 2020 election hit, and it destroyed the show. And then they had the genius idea of, hey, what if we age up all the kids? Maybe that'll fix some of the problems. And, yeah, those episodes were decent, and then they didn't do it again. And they went back to, you know, episodic. And they tried to, you know, go back to the status quo. They even brought back old school geologist Randy Marsh instead of weed-loving Randy Marsh. You know, they got desperate. And I'm still going to watch the new season like I am going to watch the new season, like I'm watching the new season of Rick and Morty. But I'm not exactly looking forward to it, if you catch my drift. And then The Simpsons. My number one solution to fix The Simpsons has always been basically go back to like season somewhere between 9 and 10. Let's just say whatever season was in 2000. Go back to that point and say, hey, every season after this, not canon. We're just going to start, say season 10 is the last canon season. Maybe even season 8's the last canon season. And just start aging the characters up. Age the characters up 25 years. We're now in the present day. You know, Lisa's wedding is the main continuity. Bart has kids and he's a construction worker. Lisa's back in the States doing whatever after spending some time at Oxford or whatever. Whatever Lisa's wedding was. You know, make The Simpsons adapt to the next generation. That's always been my idea to make The Simpsons fresh. Will they do that? I mean, they might get desperate enough one day, but God, who knows? And I'm not even going to try to save Family Guy. Fuck that. But you get my point, right? They need to do something to make these shows more interesting. And that's my big worry with Phineas and Ferb coming back. Is like, hey, you can't just do the same formula again. It's gonna be stale. Someone suggested that, hey, the season finale of the original Phineas and Ferb is them graduating high school. They graduated high school, Phineas and Isabella finally get together, and ride off into the sunset going to college. What if this season 5 picked up after that, and it's the summer vacation after their first year of college, and that you go from there? I love that idea. That is not where this season went. Instead, it just picks up a year later. You know, we had a previous 104 days of summer vacation. Now it's summer again. Let's do it all over. So I was going into this new season, I was worried. Like, rightfully so, you know, I had my concerns. Because I don't want them to just do the same thing over again. And with all that being said, right, I had my concerns. I've seen this happen to dozens of other shows. Phineas and Ferb revival actually didn't have that issue. My worry about them just doing the same thing over again and being boring, being stale, been here, done that. Nope, they managed to avoid that curse. And they did it almost immediately. So I'm just going to spoil all the episodes, by the way. So be aware, full spoilers for the first 10 episodes. If you're not interested in that, if you want to go check out the show, go do that now. It is good. If you liked the original Phineas and Ferb, you're probably going to... If you're craving that nostalgia, because again, it is very much a kid's show, you are going to like this. Sure, the style of humor is definitely a little different. Dan Povenmire and Swampy Marsh have made 2 entirely different shows since then. And so their sense of humor has evolved. You know, it's like SNL, where, you know, humor evolves over time. Yeah, the sense of humor has evolved. And I know some people don't like the Hamster and Griddle, and Milo's Murphy Law style of humor that they developed over time. And I get that. I totally get that complaint. Not that I've ever watched those shows. I've heard they're different enough. And to be fair, what I watched of Milo's Murphy Law, I did like. Hamster and Girdle, on the other hand, I never watched. So with this new one, they break the boundaries very early on. They change things up. Because, so you get the first episode, hey, they're on summer vacation, there's going to be a first day of summer block party, the kids make all these crazy inventions, Candace brings the mom out to bust them, and Doofenshmirtz, meanwhile, he's returned to evil. One of my biggest problems with the show is, so Doofenshmirtz is evil again. But if you remember where the previous season 4 ended off, and the events of Milo's Murphy's Law, which I've never seen how that show ends, even though I've heard it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but I've been told Doofenshmirtz turns good. He becomes a good guy, he gives up evil, and he finds a new family. Alright, that all sounds good, but this season kind of undoes all that progress, and I wouldn't mind so much if they explained it. And all they had to do was have Doofenshmirtz say, like, oh, you know, now that he's not evil anymore. Because I want to say, doesn't he become like a... I want to say, I've been told he becomes like a teacher or something like that. All you had to do is say, like, oh yeah, during the year, he's like a teacher or whatever. And now that summer's out, he's got nothing better to do. Maybe he'll do evil as like a job over the summer. And then once summer ends, he'll go back to teaching or whatever. Or, you know, maybe he's a pharmacist. I don't know. Whatever the fuck they were doing at the end of Milo Murphy's Law. Just kind of roll off that. The other impression I get is that the reason Doofenshmirtz became evil again is because he's lonely. He doesn't have many friends. You know, his daughter's growing up. He's lonely. He's got an ex-wife still. Right? He's just lonely. And instead of inviting Perry the Platypus over to, like, hang out and play video games, he instead has turned back to evil because that's all he knows. If that had been the explanation, that Doofenshmirtz became evil because he's lonely, I would have accepted it. That would have been fine. But they never actually say it, and they barely hint at it as well. Like, that's me extrapolating a lot. So I would have liked to have seen some of that. But no, they don't. So, okay. So, right, Doofenshmirtz has, like, a vaporizer-inator. And, you know, it's got 5-prong attachments. The boys have created 5 different things. You know, formula setting up perfectly. And then the ray zaps, but instead of hitting any of the boys' things, it hits the mom. And she gets vaporized. I was shocked, to say the least. I was so surprised. Because Phineas and Ferb is a formula, right? The things get destroyed always before the mom sees. So having the mom get vaporized and nadered, that is a subversion of expectations. Because we all know how this is going to play out. We've seen 4 seasons of this. So I was genuinely surprised. I think the first episode It's a two-part, it's 10 episodes. It's actually closer to 20 because each one's 11 minutes, but then there are two-parters. The first episode with, right, the vaporizerinator, and then they spend the second half of the episode, because it's a vaporizerinator. It doesn't disintegrate her, it turns her into water vapor, and the mom becomes a cloud. So they spend the rest of the episode, trying to wrangle the cloud until they can get the machine and turn her back. That's really good. It is a really good subversion of expectations, taking the formula that we all know works a specific way and flipping it on its head. And it's like, what if the mom got vaporized instead of the inventions? I think it is a really strong start to the season. That first episode, that twist, is really surprising. It works really well. Off to such a great start. And the rest of the season kind of just works like that. Not every episode, but some of the episodes take okay, we know the traditional Phineas and Ferb formula. What twist can we put on it to make things more interesting? So just give me a second, let me pull up the episode list. Now, I'm not going to say every episode is gold. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to say every episode is gold. There are some episodes that are, less interesting than others. The second episode, the submarine sandwich, is, they make a submarine sandwich to go to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Meanwhile, Candace is supposed to be in a sandcastle building contest, which is a callback to a previous episode, actually. But they don't, she tags along with them. At the end, it doesn't go the way they expected. It was whatever. Again, sticking to the Candace's driving test. She's gonna go get her license. The songs are decent all around. I'll tell you my favorite in a minute. But you got License to Bust. But I did like the ending where she's worried she failed the test, and the driving instructor's like, yeah, sure, you were chasing after your brothers, but you followed all the parking laws. You did well. We didn't get into an accident. You get your license. Also, I have 2 sisters who I've been trying to bust. Keep fighting the good fight. That was funny. I feel like we've seen that joke before, but I still think it worked here. Dry Another Day. The kids go luging. I think they create a giant ice luge. Obviously the mom doesn't see it. That one's whatever. But the second one, Candace and Doofenshmirtz are both seeing a psychologist, right? Because Candace has all these issues, and they tell her, oh, you need to see a psychiatrist, work through these issues. So finally, we get an episode addressing that. And, this entire episode is told from the psychiatrist's perspective, because he's both Candace and Doofenshmirtz psychiatrist, whatever they call him. He puts together that, Doofenshmirtz creates the innators, and the same time he uses them is when the boy's inventions disappear. He puts everything together and figures out that the 2 stories are connected. And as he's trying to explain it to everybody, Perry, meanwhile, is trying to sabotage him, so that way nobody else finds out that he's... Because, if they put the 2 stories together, Candace would find out that Perry's a secret agent. So I like them playing on... First, I like the psychologist thing. Because that's, a thing Candace needs to go to therapy. Doofenshmirtz has so many tragic backstories. He needs to go to therapy. I totally get that. There's also one where... I don't remember which one it is. But Doofenshmirtz has to go get his evil license renewed, and he takes Perry with him, and they kind of play off that a little bit. Again, they're frenemies. They're not... Sure, Doofenshmirtz is just lonely. So it all works out. The psychiatrist, at the end, Perry succeeds, all the stuff is destroyed, nobody believes the psychiatrist, and he gets dragged away. But I like them, again, playing off those expectations. Someone actually figures it out and it drives them crazy. The next episode, Tropey McTropeface. They make a xylotrope I think it's called a xylotrope. It's one of those spinning wheels with a bunch of pictures, and if you spin it fast enough, it makes it look like, you know, like it's moving. So they create the world's biggest xylotrope. They name it Tropey McTropeface. And then, of course, after they're done with it, it goes rolling away. And you get a song by Michael Bublé called Tropey McTropeface, where this xylotrope goes on all these wacky adventures. And it ends up falling in love with a Ferris wheel, but right before they're able to, like, meet, he always gets pulled away. You know, Tropey McTropeface joins a biker gang. He saves people. It's really weird and really random, but again, it's kind of playing with the formula. And it had one of my favorite jokes in the season, where at the end, finally, Tropey McTropeface gets together with the Ferris wheel. All the boys show up, and they point out, like, oh, they're like a happy little family. They even have kids, and it's a bunch of, like, those little, like, merry-go-rounds. And that got such a big laugh out of me. Just like them having kids. I thought that was so funny. So yeah, overall, a solid episode. The kids make a bookcase. I know that's where they get the dad to help. But the dad doesn't really... Like, he gets distracted and it doesn't really go anywheres. A chip to the vet. They go to the vet. Again, everyone assumes Doofenshmirtz is like a pharmacist. This time they think he's a vet. And he tries to chip Perry, so that way he always knows where Perry is. Meanwhile, the boys do something and it doesn't really matter. And then there's a Carl episode. We get a Carl. One of the things, right, to play around with the formula, we get episodes focused on other characters. So we get a Carl-centric episode where we find out that, yes, while he's an intern for Oka, he also is working part-time jobs to pay his rent. So we see him working some part-time jobs. You know, he's delivering pizzas. He's working craft services and whatnot. And he's helping out Perry, you know, saving his butt. You know, being supportive. And I'm kind of disappointed. Like, I thought the episode was going to end. Because you find out the pizza he's delivering is to Monogram. And, like, Monogram actually, like, feels bad for him. And I thought it was going to end with, oh, Carl, you're no longer an intern. You're now a full-time agent. Because we know at some point, Carl becomes the next major Monogram, right? Takes his place and becomes in charge of Oka. So I really thought the episode was going to end with, Carl, you're no longer an intern. You're now a full-time employee. But no, he's not. He's still an intern. He's still unpaid. Like, he makes it, like, like, at minimum, you would think, like, oh, well, at least he's now a paid intern instead of an unpaid intern. Nope, he's still unpaid. It could have ended better, but hey, again, change of formula. I'm fine with that. The Aurora Perry Alice, they take a cruise. Perry and Doofenshmirtz get shrunk down. Meanwhile, the rest of the family is dealing with the cruise. And they try not to get discovered. You know, Perry tries not to get discovered by the rest of the family. There's a subplot. They bring back Monogram's son, Montgomery, or whatever his name is. And him and Vanessa go on a date in this one, which I only find weird because we know at the end of the show, based on, because while I think I've at least seen the season 4 finale at least once. At the end of that episode, Ferb and Vanessa finally get together. Yeah, sure, is it a weird age gap relationship? Yes, but we know they get together. So her going back to Monogram for this one, I don't know, it was just kind of weird. Even though, again, their age-wise, I think their relationship works a lot better. That's not what they're doing. And then the second episode is, right, we had a Carl-centric episode. This one's a Fireside Girl-centric episode. So it's all about the Fireside Girls. And they're trying to discover, like, they're trying to decide, like, what type of cupcake to bring. And it turns into Lord of the Flies. I think the episode's even called, like, Lord of the Fireside. It's a Lord of the Flies parody, where they all get at each other's throats. It's got one of the best songs, you know, the Fireside Girls are going to war, whatever it's called. Yeah, no, it's all around a decent episode. Because at the end, you find out this is all one of Duke's inventions that he had on accident. Like he left it on like an oven on, and it causes people to fight each other. The Candace suit, episode 7. This one, fuck. Okay, so I like that they're playing with expectations. So Candace has the idea of like, hey, if whenever I go outside, the invention's there. Whenever Mom goes outside, the invention disappears. What if I have Mom wear a Candace suit? Would the invention stay? And what if I, Candace, wear a Mom suit? Would it disappear? Playing with the formula, playing with the conventions of the show. This is a weird fucking episode. And like, in one of the previous seasons, there's a joke about how Buford has rubber suits of all the characters, right? He has like injection molds for all of them, and they bring that back up. Also, Buford is like our bisexual king in the revival, because oh my god, there's a whole running joke throughout the entire season that Buford wants to make a bread bowl hot tub. Every episode, there is at least one mention of the bread bowl hot tub. And right when you think they're going to make it, they get interrupted by Meep, which we'll talk about. But yeah, there's a whole running joke about the bread bowl hot tub. Is it funny? I mean, once you realize it's a running joke, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. And then it kind of overstays its welcome, but it overstays its welcome for long enough that it eventually circles around on being funny again. So yeah, that was good. But yeah, they bring back Buford's rubber suits. And he says that, hey, he's making a rubber suit for everyone in town. Is this a fetish episode? The writer's secretly disguised fetish? Fucking maybe. But overall, I like them playing around with the formula. At some point, everybody's wearing a Candace suit. Buford wears a Mom suit and goes outside and the invention disappears. Because I think they make like a giant pogo stick or something. And so that's fun. I like them playing around with the conventions. Of course, in the end, it doesn't work out. The mom doesn't see the giant pogo stick because corn or something like that. Might have been potato salad, actually. Either way, fine episode. It was a fine episode, even if it's a little weird. The second one, the movie one, I actually didn't like. Baljeet thinks he's going to be in some sort of like Star Wars sci-fi book movie thing. Turns out, he's not, and he's just embarrassed to be an actor, and that they actually faked the whole thing just to get Baljeet to be a better actor. And it was one of the weaker episodes, in my opinion. The haberdashery is mostly a Doof and Perry episode. Holy shit, we barely got away with that. Doof turns himself into... you better believe I'm saying that. Doof turns himself into a moth, eats Perry's hat, and then he has to meet this hat maker guy and get a new one, and, it becomes a whole thing. I couldn't even begin to tell you, stuff about it. I'm sure somebody important plays the hat guy, but I have no idea. And yeah. There's Agent T. So, in the original show, right, Perry can't tell Phineas and Ferb that he's a secret agent. Because if someone finds out, then he has to go away. However, in the original show, near the end, I guess at some point Stacy found out, and because she's not technically family, as long as she doesn't tell Candace, she's allowed to learn Perry's secret. So there are at least 2 episodes that kind of play around with that idea, that Stacy knows. And in this one, they're at this gala, and Doof is there, and Perry comes in to stop him. And Stacy is playing support, helps him get out of a trap, and is trying to lead Candace away from everything. Because, again, another part of the formula, right? Every episode, Doof traps Perry, and Perry always gets out. So they have the idea, well, hey, what if Dr. Diminutive instead traps Perry? And then they turn them into Love Muffin, but Love Muffin's gonna kill Perry, and Doof's like, no, we need the frenemy rivalship, right? I can't have you kill Perry. And then in the end, Stacy saves Perry. And they do Agent T for teen for Stacy. Hey, again, it plays with the expectations of the show. Perfectly fine. Episode 9 is the Chronicles of Meep. So, the original Chronicles for Meep is a great episode of the original show. Then, at the end of the original, they make like a fake teaser for Chronicles of Meep 2. And then I guess in the next season, they made Chronicles of Meep 2, which is like regarded as like one of the best episodes of the show. So then they had the idea of like, oh, well, let's tease a third episode. Meet Me in St. Louis. Because I want to say the second one was called Meet Me in Seattle. So they made a fake episode. They made a trailer for a fake episode that they made into a real episode that they put another fake trailer in. And this time they made the episode again. So this is Meet Me in St. Louis. Meep is back, this time played by John Stamos. And he's trying to find this treasure before the other guy does. It's not Terrence. I can't remember what the evil Meep is called. But he's trying to find the treasure before the other guy does. Mitch. His name is Mitch. So it's Meep versus Mitch. Meep wants to bust Mitch to the galactic government, who thinks he's good and running like a tour company. So he gets Candace's and Phineas and Ferb's help. They eventually go to St. Louis because the St. Louis Arch is the treasure. Like think of it as like the handle to a suitcase. But in order to distract Mitch, they need to like get him to come to Earth. So they create Stabby Barf Pain, which is the mythical 5th season, which is a combination of all the other seasons. I'll be honest, it's really fucking stupid. Stabby Barf Pain is a stupid idea with a stupid premise, and it has one of the best songs of the season. The Stabby Barf Pain song is really good. I think it is my favorite episode. Either that or one of the ones from the first episode. It's good. I really did like it. I think the rest of the episode's just okay. The show, of course, it does a lot of callbacks. They do the nickel joke of like, oh, if I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. They do that joke, but they do it twice. The mom says it, if I had a nickel for every time Candace tried to bust you, I'd have like $5, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened so many times. And then in the next episode, Doofenshmirtz says it again, and it's just kind of like, sometimes I'm fine with callbacks. I think the idea of calling back to Meet Me in St. Louis is a decent idea. But sometimes they're good, like the Buford one of him having the bodysuits, good callback. The nickel one just feels kind of cheap. If I'm gonna be completely honest, it does. But yeah, it's a whatever episode, but God, that Stabby Barf Pain song is just so memorable. Could I actually sing it right now? No. God, no. But yeah, it's one of the better songs. And then the final episode, No Slumber Party. Hey, it's Candace and Stacy are having a slumber party, but Vanessa's there. And, yeah, she just adds to the dynamic. Meanwhile, the boys are having a slumber party, and, they're gonna stay up all night. And, it's just fun. Buford, bisexual king that he is, admits to have both a crush on Candace and Jeremy. And then he gets dressed up in makeup, and the dad confuses him for the Queen of England. Yeah, it's fine. It was whatever. And then the final one was, it just says the ballad. They create a forced perspective Western town. This one is less playing around with the tropes of Phineas and Ferb, and instead the tropes of Westerns, but also animation. That, in their first perspective Western town, you could be as big or as tall as you want. Does it make any sense? No, but that's kind of the fun of it. It's again, playing around with the medium of animation. It reminds me, there's a College Humor sketch called How Tall is Grant? Imagine you take that How Tall is Grant and make it an entire Phineas and Ferb episode. Meanwhile, you see Louisiana Doofenshmirtz. Yeah, there's like a Doof's cousin who wants to cook and eat Perry the Platypus. It's whatever. So yeah, that's the season. I'm not going to act like everything's great. It still has some issues. Some episodes are good, some episodes are just okay. I wouldn't say anything is like actively bad. Like there's no like real offensive episode. But yeah, overall, I think they made a pretty solid reboot. I don't know how many episodes there are gonna be. I mean, they've already done 10, and each episode is, again, 11 minutes, so there's technically like 20 episodes. Well, 2 of them are 20 minutes. There's like 18. There are 18 episodes. Overall, pretty solid. Pretty solid, would recommend. Next up, Rick and Morty. We'll go through this one real quick, because I have no idea how long we've been going. The first episode 2 is, we're back with Space Beth. Space Beth trying to take down the Galactic Federation. There's this evil scientist who has found this, like, spore that mutates people. Beth's trying to stop her, but she has to go she gets disowned by the rebellion and has to go all Mission Impossible. Rick helps her out, but Rick, is also causing problems. They go on a whole space adventure. It's fine. It's fine. Was it funny? Kind. There were a few okay jokes. If you remember the season 3 premiere, there's like a bug commander who works for the government. Turns out that guy's still alive, and Beth and Rick team up with him, and yeah, he's actually pretty cool. So yeah, that was an okay callback. And then episode 3 was Citadel of Ricks. So right, the Citadel of Ricks doesn't exist anymore, but instead they create there's like a Morty town with like a Rick living outside of it. The Morty town gets raided. The Rick his house gets burned down. So he goes out looking for revenge, and he ends up killing he goes to like the new Citadel, which is being created by like Louisiana Gumbo Rick, and he goes through, he fights Odd Job Rick, does all the shit, goes big revenge. It's I think the Rick, the Morty, and the Ugly, and he teams up with one of the Mortys, in the end, no more Citadel of Ricks. All the Mortys are gonna go out and find their own lives on other planets. Again, it's kind of like the Rick Atlantis mix-up, where it starts with Rick and Morty, and then follows these other guys, and then Rick and Morty show up again at the end. And yeah, at the end, the new Citadel of Ricks that they're trying to make gets destroyed. Overall, solid episode. It's not funny, like I don't feel like they told really, like, any jokes. It's kind of like the Rick Atlantis mix-up, even though, God, that one does have Simple Ricks, which is, God, such a funny joke. The Simple Ricks Freedom Selects is such a funny joke. One of the best in the show. This one, right, it kind of takes things more serious. Again, it's doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's part of their inspiration. Overall, solid episode. All around, really solid episode. Again, not the funniest, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. Again, for Season 8 Rick and Morty, I think it's doing okay. Alright, let's talk How to Train Your Dragon. So, let's talk about the movie first. Hey, have you seen the original How to Train Your Dragon from, what is it, like 2012? (2010), God, that's even earlier. Have you seen the original How to Train Your Dragon? Guess what? You've seen the new one. They are basically shot for shot the same movie. Hey, was your problem with the new Lilo and Stitch that Disney changed too much and you wish they just kind of did the same, basically made the same movie in live action? Was that your problem with the new Lilo and Stitch, and not that it should have never been made into live action at all? Well, guess what? You're going to like this. Because this is almost shot for shot the same movie. If you told me they used the exact same script, I would believe you. There is one change, which does it matter if I go into spoilers? Because it's a 2010 movie, and it's the same fucking movie. I mean, yes, some of the Ingrid, is that her name? The girl is a redhead instead of a blonde. Oh wow, such a big change. Gobber is played by Nick Frost instead of whoever played him originally. But he's still gay, probably. Right, like, they make some changes. Like, some minor ones. But the only major change... Major in quotes. It's not actually that big of a change. But the one change that I know is going to piss off conservatives, they made the movie woke. Yep. With a single change, they made the movie woke. How did they do it? There's a scene early-ish on where all the Vikings are meeting. You know, it's Stoic and all the other Viking leaders. But the Viking, you know, in the original movie, they're all Nordic Vikings. But in this, they all come from different places. So there are people, you know, because they've all come together to slay this dragon, to slay the dragonness, get rid of the threat once and for all. So it's not just Vikings, you know, Nordic Vikings. There are people, there are Moors from Africa. There are people from the Silk Road. There's a lot of women. You know, they made it more diverse. Instead of it all just being white people, there are black people, there are Asian people, there are equal amounts men and women. Sure, of our main character cast, is there only one woman? Yeah, basically. But, you know, in the supporting cast, there's a lot more. And so, yeah, if you ask a Republican, they will say the movie has gone woke. And so that's like the one change they make. Does it affect the story at all? No, not at all. It is really an insignificant change. Like, this isn't like Lilo and Stitch where that one change completely destroys the movie. No, this is altogether an insignificant change. Did the movie need to be remade just to add this one change? Not at all. If you are going to watch this movie, you know, let's say you want to see this with your kids, do I recommend you watch this remake or the original? Watch the original. Not that the remake is bad, because it's the same fucking movie. It's just the original. It's the question of, does changing a movie from animation to live action, is that a significant enough change? It's like, I saw someone use the comparison of Shakespeare plays. That, like, when, you know, Shakespeare plays have been retold thousands of times. But every time you tell them, it's a little different. You know, actors, Kenneth Branagh, add their own interpretations of the characters to make things different every time you do it. So does taking an animated film and making it live action, is that change alone big enough to justify this movie's existence? And I could honestly see the argument going either way. Do I think this movie needed to exist? No. Is the live action change significant enough? Not in my opinion, but it still is an artistic change. It's fucking weird, man. I'm not gonna write a dissertation on it or anything. I'm not in college anymore. If you are in college, you could probably write a decent dissertation on this, by the way. Just FYI. Just, you know, keep your options open. But it's still art. It's just, did this art need to exist? Not really. Do I recommend it over the original? No, not really. Are the flying scenes in the soundtrack, because I think it's Hans Zimmer, are they beautiful? Yes. The flying scenes were great. They looked good. The Hans Zimmer score is still fantastic. Oh my gosh. But does the change to live action really need to happen? No, not really, because the original also did it really well, and the original was more colorful. Like, when it gets dark in this movie, it's live action, so it gets fucking dark. Whereas, when it's dark in the original, you can still very clearly see everything, because it's animated. So, I don't know. Do I regret seeing it? No, not really. Because here's the other thing about when I saw this. So when I saw the original was in 3D, you know, beautiful movie, seeing in 3D. I don't know if you've heard, but recently there's been this thing called 4DX. If you've ever been to like Universal Studios, they used to have Shrek 4D, which was like this little Shrek mini movie, but you know, the seats moved, they sprayed water in your face, there was wind, there was, you know, I think of like Stitch's Extraterrestrial Encounter, where you got water sprayed on you and you spelled nacho breath or hot dog breath or whatever. You know, interactive movies is a thing. Well, recently, they opened a 4DX theater near me. Or at least one of the pre-existing studio theaters around me had a 4DX theater installed. And it opened over Memorial Day. And I knew about it, and I was just kind of waiting for, like, the right movie to come around. So when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? How to Train Your Dragon is probably a great 4DX movie. Because, you know, you're flying around, so the seats moving probably make that feel a lot better. You know, you have wind rushing by as they're going through the water. You know, it spritz water in your face. So I tried, for the first time ever, I tried 4DX. And you know what? If you have a 4DX theater near you and you've never tried it, I'd actually probably recommend this. If you want to try 4DX, this is a good movie to do it with. When the flying scenes happen, and, you know, they're flying through the clouds, and the seats are kind of moving with them flying, you know, they're shaking around. I had a massive smile on my face. I was having so much fun, man. It is sometimes a bit jarring. Like, whenever they, like, slap a table or close a door, the seats, like, jerk. There's one point near the end where, like, the queen dragon breathes, like, a fireball. And boom, the seat just like jerked back, like real whiplash there. But for the most part, it was interesting. God, there was a Tron Ares preview before it, and that was like, because I was in a theater with a bunch of other people who had never done 4DX, so like everyone was so surprised when it happened. Because again, we'd never done the only time I've ever done 4DX or something like this was Shrek 4D at Universal Studios. So I was really surprised by this. But no, it was actually kind of nice, because I'd never done 4DX. I know, I remember hearing, I think on Off Topic, the old Achievement Hunter podcast, Gavin and Eric used to talk about 4DX, probably Alfredo as well, how much they loved seeing like Fast and the Furious in 4DX. So I was like, yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, at the time when I heard about that, I was like, I should try that out. But there's no 4DX theater, and now it's like 6 years later, and it's like, okay, well, let's do 4DX now. And yeah, so I got to see it in 4DX. There wasn't, if you're worried about like there being like too much water, the movie was actually minimal on the water effects. It happened at most 5 times. I was kind of underwhelmed by that. There's a lot of wind. I admittedly don't know if it does smells. Sometimes you could smell something, and I couldn't tell if that was like an intentional thing, or if that's just like the machines. They have like fog machines in the front, and there were certain like, when like, there's one of the dragons that breathes like smoke. Whenever it breathes like the explosive smoke, the fog machine went off. It was really neat. Yeah, I took my parents to go see it. I didn't even think, my dad gets motion sick very easily. So, like, after the first trailer, before the movie even began, he was like, oh no. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. So I was worried about that. But no, he made it through fine. So I'm sure if you have motion sickness, right, that definitely is something to worry about. But he made it through fine. Again, sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's jerky. But it's you gotta experience it to really get it. And I honestly think this is a decent movie to experience it with. So yeah, that was my 4DX experience. Overall, yeah, I was really surprised by that. But I had a good time. Am I going to do 4DX anytime soon? No. I think I'll stick to the Alamo Drafthouse. That's where it's at. That, I think, is a better experience. Because, you know, dinner and a movie is nice. It's about the same price, by the way, because it's the 40X is like an extra like 10. Like movie tickets are already expensive, and 40X was like an extra like 10-12 bucks. So it's definitely like a splurge thing, but I wanted to try it at least once. So yeah, so on that aspect, I did have a good time, and seeing this movie in a 40X theater, I would say was worth it. But I don't think it's going to be worth it for everybody. Just, again, if you've got kids, show them the original, and then you can show them 2 and 3. And 2 is so good. The original is great as well. Like, the original might be the best one, but I remember really loving 2. 3 was okay. 3 was good, but nothing... You know, it's a third DreamWorks movie. They're usually good, but not as good as the first 2. And yeah, the third one was good, but not as good as the first 2. Alright, so let's talk Superman real quick, and then, I don't know, I'm tired. We've been going for over 3 hours. So Superman, the new Superman movie comes out July 11th. And kind of funny, you know, Greg Miller is a massive Superman fan. They're doing Superman in review. They're going to watch the original 4 Superman movies, and then I think they watch the new one, Superman Returns. So at work today, because they did the first one yesterday, and so at work today, I was listening to them do the first Superman movie. It's like their review of the original Superman is longer than the movie itself. And they go into so much behind the scenes details, tell so many stories I'd never heard before. It was really interesting. I don't know if I'd recommend it because it's, again, a 3-hour video. But if you're interested in some of the behind the scenes stuff, again, maybe watch the Christopher Reeves documentary on HBO Max. But this is another thing you could watch. And thoroughly, I was really interested into this kind of funny thing. So at a certain point, once I got home, I was like, you know, I could keep listening to this, or fuck it, I can just watch Superman. It's on it. All of the movies are on HBO Max. Fuck it, I'll just watch the original Superman. So that's what I did. I sat down, I watched the original. I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever fully seen this movie before. I've definitely seen bits and pieces of it, but I don't think I've ever sat down to fully watch the original 1978 Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner Superman. And watching it again? Yeah, no, I had a good time. Is it campy? Is it cheesy? Yes. Yes, it is. But I think Christopher Reeves knocks it out of the park as Superman. When he goes out there as Superman, the tagline of the movie is, "You will believe a man can fly." And you know what? I believe. I think he nailed it. Margaret Kidder as Lois Lane did a fantastic job. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, it's a weird one because by any stretch of the imagination, I would not say he's Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is as much Lex Luthor as Jesse Eisenberg was Lex Luthor. Like, he really doesn't fit the interpretation of the character, or like what I expect the character to be. But he's going out there, he's playing it like the Adam West Batman. That's the comparison I see made. And I think that's the best explanation. Because he's got 2 henchmen, Otis in Thesmea. It's something like that. He's got a henchman and a henchwoman. The man's an idiot. The woman's, a little smarter, but she's clearly just a sex symbol. There are so many sex things in this movie that I don't remember at all. She shows up half naked. You see fully naked baby Clark Kent. When Lois in Superman as Superman. When Lois sits down to interview Superman, he comments on the color of her panties, which I was not expecting. There's some dick jokes, there's some boob jokes. For a kid's movie, yeah, I'm not going to say it's like super raunchy, but there's way more than I remember. And overall, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think Christopher Reeves does a good job. I feel like the story was interesting enough. It was really, having watched the Kinda Funny thing, it was really neat to hear them talk about, like, oh yeah, during this scene when they're first exiting the Daily Planet, you can see the camera in the reflection. Oh, here's how they did this thing. Oh, the first time Christopher Reeves flied was the first time they had ever done the test before. And he just nails it in a way most people wouldn't, right? In a way they didn't expect. Like, they were so surprised by his mannerisms, how he moved. It just works so well. In the score, oh my gosh. John Williams does the score. Fresh off of Star Wars. And it's so good. The Superman theme is maybe my favorite piece of John Williams' work. Like, I don't get me wrong, there's some great Star Wars stuff, there's some great Indiana Jones stuff. But that first time you see Superman fly, and you hear the Superman theme, it is so good. Oh my gosh. Not that it's all perfect, man. It's cheesy, it's kind of dumb sometimes. The ending with the time travel is really fucking stupid. Yeah, the time travel is really dumb. That my opinion on that has not changed. It's awful. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't know if I was... It's one of those movies like, oh, it's from 78. Are you actually going to like this movie or not? You never actually know. But I really enjoyed it. You don't have to watch it by any means to see the new one. There's no connection whatsoever. But I'm glad I did. And especially listening to the Kinda Funny stuff, I do, after hearing them talk about it, I do want to watch the Christopher Reeves documentary. Because hearing all these behind-the-scenes stories also is really interesting. So, if we come back next week, and Superman 2 is on here, and the Christopher Reeves thing is on, do not be surprised. I will tell you right now, though, I'm not watching Superman 3. Because I've never seen it. I've admittedly never seen Superman 3. But I have no interest in watching it. I have seen Superman 4. Never again. Never again. So I'm good. I'll probably listen to Kinda Funny talk about both of those. But I've never seen Superman 3, and I don't want to see Superman 4. I've also never seen Superman Returns, and I'm kind of split on whether or not to see that one. So yeah, but no, I'm glad I rewatched this. I did have a good time. Movie's a lot longer than you think it is. Like, I know I point out the Kinda Funny videos like 3 hours long. The movie itself is like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Admittedly, goes by pretty quick. I feel like for 2 hours, like, modern movies get a lot more done in that same time period, but it does go by quick enough. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say it's anything great. It is cheesy, it is campy, but I had a good time. Which I didn't think I was going to. Because again, listening to them, because on the podcast, both Greg and Nick have seen it like 100 times. But Tim and Andy had never seen it before. Andy hated it, Tim liked it. I kind of felt like, oh, I'm gonna be in the Andy camp because that's Tim Burton's Batman. Tim Burton's Batman in the Christopher Reeves Superman, I guess the Donner Superman. I always felt like the same way about, like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. Like, they're products of their time. They're enjoyable in their own ways, but they're products of their time. So I was not expecting to enjoy it, because again, it's 78. The fact that it's 78 and what they were able to pull off blows me away. But yeah, listening to all the behind-the-scenes stuff that Kinda Funny talked about, it just, I think it made my experience better. Knowing some of that stuff, knowing how they worked on it, how they got some of that stuff done. And I know they're citing other sources. But yeah, it was totally worth it. So that's my Superman thing. And, I know next up we have, I have Butchers Masquerade. I'm ready to end off. So let's just I finished Butcher's Masquerade. Overall, I thought I might be the best one. I like the ending. I like the reveal of, what's her face? How, so throughout the book, in the second book, third book, in the second book, they end up having to work with this elf woman who's like this named NPC. And it's kind of like, oh, what's going to happen with her? It's not Soliloquy. What the fuck is her name? Signet? I think her name is Signet. And in the third book, they sign a contract where they're going to have to work again with Signet on the sixth floor. So here in the fifth book, we're on the sixth floor. And it's like a holy shit. Okay, we're back with her. They're working with her, you know, she's helping them. But at the end, Signet, they basically make Signet self-aware. Like, she realizes she's just an NPC in somebody else's game. And so she ends up sacrificing herself to, you know, break down the borders, lead to the final fight, which is Carl, the Imogen, the Elf Queen, who is a replica of one of the other fighters, Ofechi's. They're like twin sister, so it looks just like Ofechi's, which is super fucked up. We get some more stuff on Lucia Marr, because my thought had been like she's like schizophrenic, or she has multiple personality disorder, because she hears people talking to her, but also it seems like she has other voices in her head, which is all really interesting. And hey, there's my second one. So that was all really interesting. But finally, the guy who Ofechi's killed, they talk to her, and you find out, like, no, there's, like, multiple people inside of her. It's all really interesting. Oh, shit, that's a new P-switch. Ooh, let's... You know, let's finish this up real quick, and then let's do this P-switch, and we'll talk about it. Alright, let's just finish this off. So, Lucia Marr, you find out more about her. You get this final battle, which is Carl and his, right, all the hunter. Carl and all of his party versus Imogen, the Queen of the Elves, versus the remaining hunters, of which there's like 60, versus one of the goddesses, who, like, earlier, one of the hunters' moms, who was like this famous legendary hunter. Carl, like, pissed off the mom, gave the famous hunter, I think her name's, like, Raw, gave her super gonorrhea, it's something like that, and, like, how Raw gets out of that is, like, super fucked up, and how the mother is still there to be, like, this goddess, also super fucked up, but, you know, it's what's to be expected. I'm not gonna go into any details, just know it's super fucked up, but they end up having this big fight. They're able to defeat the mom. They're able to defeat the hunter, Raw. The mom's name is like Celestia or something like that. They defeat them, and then at the end, they make it through the floor. And then they announce that, hey, guess what? The ninth floor, which is Faction Wars. They've been building up Faction Wars since the first book. Because of their lawyer and whatnot, Carl and Donut will have their own team on Faction Wars, because there are only so many Faction Wars slots, and they've been able to buy their own slot because of Donut's fan club bought it, and they created their own company. It's this whole thing, but I'm now more excited for Faction Wars. But that's still like 2 books away, or so I thought, because they get to the 7th floor, and the 7th floor is like this giant, like, glass Klein bottle, and the goat Prepotente, because the vampire Miriam Dom dies, right? This little old lady who was like a goat hoarder, she's dead, but her pet goat Prepotente gets to live, and he uses his knowledge, because he's like super enhanced, to break the 7th floor, so they skip the entire 7th floor. So now the next book is the 8th floor. I can't remember what the next book is called. In the 9th book, or the 7th book, is going to be the 9th floor. So we're 1 book away from the 9th floor. Which, as far as, while the book is not out physically, I'm pretty sure the 7th book is an audiobook already. Like, you can get that on Sound Booth Theater. Yeah. Hashtag not sponsored, but seriously though, if you'd want to sponsor me, while I haven't listened to much on Sound Booth Theater compared to Audible, everything I have done Sound Booth Theater has been really top notch. Hashtag not sponsored, but like, hey, I'd be open. But no, it's the fact that the 9th floor, Faction Wars, is 1 floor away. I'm very excited about, because they've been building up to it since the beginning. And I don't know how many books are left, because again, it makes sense for Carl to go to the 12th, but we'll see. Or to the 15th, but we'll see. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the 5th book. It's a great series. So I guess that takes us to our outro. We'll be back next week. Maybe Nintendo Direct. Maybe something else. Yeah, we'll do this last mission. I don't know. I don't know what's coming up next. But we'll definitely be back next week to talk more Zelda, more Mario Kart. Maybe do 10 things I want in Mario Kart. That makes sense to do. If not, we'll do something else. Probably talk about Superman some more. I'm so excited for the new one. But yeah, that's right around the corner. So I think we're gonna end off there probably. Yeah, I'll just drive into the sunset. And hey, if a Nintendo Direct happens in the next week, that'd be real. Oh, fuck. I want to end off, but I want to keep doing these P switches, man. Fuck. Okay, let's do one more. Yeah, I hope we get an in. Nintendo has done a Direct in June. Again, out of the past 6 years, they've only skipped it like once. So I really hope we get one. Because I still think there's... I want Mario Kart World, even if it's just, hey, here's an announcement of Mario Kart World DLC, because they got to do that at some point. I firmly believe they have to do that. That would be nice enough. But we'll just wait and see. But until then, I'm going to end off, unless we see another P-switch in the next 10 seconds. So, I hope y'all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.